What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me on this panel, we've got Callum Wiggins.
Yo.
Robert DeFelice.
Hi.
And Mike Payton.
All right.
So, we are going to be doing the mailbag questions you guys submitted for March 2018. You guys know the score by now. You send in questions, we pick about the majority of them, and then we answer them. That's what a Q&A is, questions and answers. It's a double package, 2-for-1 deal. Pretty boring if we just had the questions, right? We're just kind of like, so what do you think about whatever? All right, that's the end of the episode. So we're going to start and just dive right into this with Peter Piccinini's questions. Number 1, what do your dreams mean? My mind makes new TV and movie ideas and lyrics for songs. I never did that, but this came about because of the last mailbag. We were talking about some different things dream-related, and Robert reminded me right before we got started of a couple things that I had mentioned before. Somebody had asked, something else about dream-related, and I said to bring that up another time. Windmill. I had a dream one time that freaked me out because it was, it revolved around, I drove on the side of the road and I saw a windmill, and I was thinking to myself in the dream, not many windmills around this area. And then it ended up turning into this whole thing about a bunch of dead family members that were like, that whole idea. I don't believe too much about dreams, like giving you, like messages necessarily, but it was kind of one of those things. And then in the dream, I drove back and the windmill was on the opposite side of the road. And I remember in the dream thinking to myself, I wonder if one of the dead people in my dream moved the windmill and all this other kind of stuff. And it just kind of stood out to me as something strange.
Tony, your dream sounds an awful lot like Petscop.
What's that?
Oh, you haven't seen Petscop yet?
Never even heard of it.
It's like this urban legend series on YouTube where someone's doing like a let's play of this video game, but there's supposed to be this whole like mystery behind it of like a child murder and all this other creepy shit.
Huh. Are there
pretty
windmills?
Wild. I definitely recommend checking that out on the YouTubes.
I'm gonna write that down. Petscop?
Yeah, Petscop. Petscop. Yeah, it's another way you could say it.
Not Petscop. RoboCop. Yeah, I have weird dreams, but I don't dream all that often, the way I remember it. And usually the ones that stand out are like the ones like the windmill one. I had one that really freaked me out one time where it was actually, you know how like in movies people have a dream and they like jump and out of bed and they're all just like like that kind of thing. Barely ever actually happens in real life, but it happened to me one time where I had a dream that I was flushing this toilet that was like, you know how like some beds are built into a wall and you have to kind of like pull it out of it? There was a toilet that did that. Yeah.
You had a Murphy toilet?
I had a Murphy toilet in this dream, and there was this vortex where it would suck it down, and I remember in the dream going, well, that ain't fucking right. And then this woman in like this old like Audrey Hepburn style hat was like, you're not supposed to be here. And I was like, what? And it was in my girlfriend at the time's apartment that it was happening and stuff. And I actually woke up out of the dream and looked in the direction of where she was in the dream. And that freaked the hell out of her because it was just sort of like, what are you looking at? I was just like, I'm supposed to be here. Like, what's wrong with the toilet? That kind of a thing. My favorite dream I've ever had was about an underground symphony orchestra. Like it was kind of one of those things where if you were to go underneath a bridge, there was this like door that led to this like subterranean lair, and everybody was playing the violin and the flute and different things, and it was this whole like strange kind of scenario. And somebody in the dream had told me, I can't remember verbatim what the line was without trying to look up in my notes because I wrote it down at some point, but it was something like, everybody's got some part to play in the harmony. You just have to find your sound or something. And it happened at a time where I was like really, really depressed, like insanely depressed. And it actually kind of kicked me out of it. But yeah, I dream mundane things like going around and trying to find more dinner plates and my grandfather saying everybody's going to eat. Don't worry about it. Like those are the dreams that I have where I'm just walking around doing pointless shit. I never really tend to have like, I'm on a river of chocolate and the Pope starts fighting me on a dragon. Like, I never do any of that kind of shit. So I think it's just my subconscious trying to fill the void with like needlessly complicated type of bullshit, you know? But how do you guys view dreams? Is it something that you put stock into, or is it just kind of like your brain defragging itself, or what? Who wants to chime in?
I've had dreams in more recent years that are just very much me confronting whatever the major devil on my back is at the time, whether that was, a bad relationship or a bad time at home. I'm usually confronting that within the dream. I mean, unlike you, I don't have dreams where I'm like, oh yeah, cotton candy clouds and, everything's crazy. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to have weird dreams where like Al Sharpton and Michael Jackson were trying to kill me. I don't know what that was about. Can't figure that
Inspired by real life.
I dream very real, personal things, and I guess, confront the issues that I wish I could on a daily basis in my sleep.
Oh, go ahead, Tony.
I was gonna say microcal, so go for it.
Oh, well, I could say that I don't dream as much as I used to. When I was a kid, it was more along the lines of I used to dream things like lava monsters, and I remember I used to take any horror or scary movie that I used to watch, and I would almost inevitably have a dream afterwards that was directly related to that. So I watched Jurassic Park, and then I essentially dreamed myself as one of the kids in Jurassic Park, except in my version, what's the owner of the park's name?
Hammond.
Yeah, he dies in my version of it. So he got like eaten by a T-Rex, I think. So
I think he dies in the original book.
Oh, I never read the book, but at least I know I'm more along those lines then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he dies in the book. I mean, I think he gets killed like 3/4 of the way through or something like that.
Pretty much everybody dies in the book except for I think like 2 people, and I can't remember. I think it's the woman, and I think it's Jeff Goldblum, who's actually called Jeff Goldblum in the book.
Good casting, then. Just kind of like, hey, look at that.
Yeah, so other than that, more recently, just very mundane dreams if I dream at all. So I don't really put much stock into them. If I do have something interesting, then I just say, oh, that was weird, and then just go about my day.
Peyton, I could see you either having like crazy dreams or just sort of like, oh, I haven't dreamed in 8 years.
I mean, I dream occasionally. I don't really remember them. I'm one of those people who the dream dissipates pretty quickly. But something I think I can add to the conversation here that I haven't experienced in a number of years, but I have experienced quite a few times, and it's quite terrifying. It's called sleep paralysis. Are you guys familiar with this?
Yeah, I have experienced that.
Never done it myself, but I've seen it in action, and don't want to.
It is one of the most terrifying experiences I can imagine a person going through. If you're not familiar with it, I recommend going and researching it, because I don't think my quick description of it will do it enough justice. But essentially, it's where your body wakes up, but your brain is still producing the chemicals that sedate your muscles and everything, so you're not able to move. So you're waking up and you're essentially you're paralyzed. And beyond that, your brain is also going into this crazy mode of paranoia, and you're freaking out. You feel like you can't breathe. There's these ancient tales about there's like this demon that sits on your chest, and that's why you got like this weight on it. This is what made me think about it when Robert mentioned the devil on his back. This is referred to as the devil on your chest. Like there's actually like something pushing down on you. You feel like you can't breathe, you can't move, and it's quite scary. And once you know what it is and that it's not really that big of a deal other than being scary at the time, you learn to put your mind at ease when you're experiencing it, and you just got to breathe slowly and just keep trying to move, slowly start wiggling your fingers at the end, and eventually you can get yourself out of it. But it's quite scary, especially with like the first time it happens and you don't know what the hell is happening. It's, oh gosh.
I would imagine in that scenario that I would just sort of be like, all right, I guess I'm dying now. Like a kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually experienced that rather frequently, I guess, for the occurrence. But yeah, I go through that maybe once every other month or so. Yeah,
God damn.
it's pretty weird. I mean, sleep habits scare me because
you might want to get inspected for sleep apnea, bro.
yeah, okay, yeah, I was actually just gonna mention sleep habits scare me because my dad had terrible sleep apnea, and my mom suffers night terrors, and
That's a horrible combination
Yeah,
to work into.
you should get a sleep analysis like sooner than later, man.
Yeah, a sleep test could help. Look at that. In the very
Correct.
first question, we already have medical advice. This is good
We have a
stuff.
diagnosis.
Does anybody else know that they talk in their sleep?
I've been told that I do.
I don't talk, but I actually sleep with my eyes open.
Oh, that's freaky.
Really?
Yeah.
I recently, Caroline was like, "What were you dreaming about?" And I was like, "I don't know. I didn't remember why." And she's like, "Cause you like she woke up before me, and she was just kind of like, so, you looked like you were kind of like angry at something or whatever, and then you just went good, and that was it." And I was like, I don't remember. What, you sure it was like a bad good? And she's like, "Yeah, it was like a forceful one." And I'm like, You should have asked me a question, you know? You should have been like, "What's good?" or something, you know? I was told once when I was really little, I was like, I must have been in like 4th grade or something like that. But my mom went to wake me up to go to school in the morning or whatever. And when she went into my room, she was like, "I thought that you were awake because you were sitting there going, Stone Cold wins."
So we know that Tony was a big fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I had the chain wallet and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
My dad. I used to think my dad was awake because he would like have full blown conversations like, fuck you," and then suddenly I'm like, wait, he's sleeping.
He was just like muttering in his sleep all the people that he hated and stuff. Son of a bitch, cut me off.
Hey, he would have full blown conversations. Sleep is the crazy fucking thing, guys.
It is.
Speaking of paralysis, next question.
Yeah. God damn.
Wait, is it Daniel Bryan?
Question number 2 from Peter. Now that Stephen Hawking is dead, who is the smartest person alive? Is it you? I would love to say that, but I'm gonna have to go with Elon Musk. At least as far as people in the in the public eye, there's probably some dude out there who's just like so brilliant.
That was going to be my exact answer. The smartest person alive is going to be like some random who knows who the fuck at like MIT or some shit, like some Ken Jennings motherfucker that just is like sitting somewhere unknown.
That's a reference.
But I would definitely say the smartest person that has some real power right now and is in the public eye, without a doubt, is Elon Musk. He's making a lot of bright decisions. He's not just, I don't want to just say smart, but he's also just intelligent in the sense that he knows he knows what's right. He's not just making like business decisions. He's making like human
World
survival decisions. Yeah, and that what I think makes him highly intelligent over other people. And if you want to just talk about like people who are like science smart and shit like that, probably Neil deGrasse Tyson is probably the next in line, right? I don't know.
He was another one I was thinking of at the time. And he's cool too. Like he's chill as shit. Elon Musk, though, I've been saying for years before he was in like the public eye as much, that dude is a real life Bond villain. He is just, you take like the tropes of Bond villains, he's missing a deformity and that's it. Like, that dude is going to create Atlantis at some point. He's going to steal the Moonraker.
I bet you he's a third nipple.
Maybe, like, something like that. He's pulling a Scaramanga. Like, he has one turn of just, like, you take his eyeball out or something like that, and then he's going to start being like, well, my next project is we're going to unleash this virus on the universe or something. Like, he scares the shit out of me, but in a good way, because, like, obviously, we don't have Bond villains like exactly the way that they are in fiction, and this dude is just sort of like, hey, how about we like do the flying car shit that we had promised people decades ago and stuff? I'd probably go with him. Hawking is a different type of smart, like you were saying. He's just like, here's some physics equation that's gonna blow your mind, and I don't know. Maybe there is some dude who is just like, at Harvard or something who is absolutely brilliant and holding back a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure. I would definitely say Elon Musk. When I read the question, Neil deGrasse Tyson came immediately to mind. I'll tell you who it's not, and that's Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 fame, who is currently trying to prove that aliens exist, but only if you pay him for it.
Like they'll only exist if they get money. That'd be funny.
Well, Stephen Hawking believed that aliens existed.
Well, actually, isn't that a question?
It might be. Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense.
I'm
yeah,
pretty-
actually,
I'm
it is
pretty
down the
sure
line.
it's Yeah.
I'd just like to echo your statement to like Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'd also add Gary Kasparov as well, the chess player.
Don't even
Apparently
know him.
he's like the guy that beat the supercomputer, I think. Or did the supercomputer beat him? I think it was like...
It must have been that he beat.
The biggest thing I want to stress, though, is the real answer to this are people we don't know the fucking names of.
Absolutely.
Those are the real people that are making, like, working on curing cancer and going through strives to cure world hunger and
Helping the Bilderberg group.
Elon Musk, one thing I think is really awesome what he's doing is he's helping get the Puerto Rico grid back on, and he's upgrading it all to be like state-of-the-art shit, and it's basically going to set the standard for what power grid should be like going forward, and hopefully other countries will follow suit, and that's going to be the start of a real energy revolution.
Musk is the type of dude that has the money and the intelligence where it's like, thank God he's not crazy, you know? Like, he's actually just helping. Like, he's going to accomplish so much in his life that he's going to go down as one of these textbook type people, you know?
And he's pretty young, too.
Isn't he like 40?
46. He's not even cracking 50 yet. He'll probably... If anyone's going to get us to the moon, or like living
I think we
on
did
the
that a
moon,
while ago.
like living on the moon, I mean, it could be a guy like him.
We're sailors on the moon. Let's see. Question 3 here. What was your reaction to Toys R Us closing? I think that's sad. It's one of those things where it makes sense, you know? When we were younger, Walmart wasn't really as much of a thing, and that really cuts into what it is. And Amazon kills a lot of that market too, but there was a certain charm to just being able to go to a store as a kid, and whether you bought anything or not, even if you just like looked around the store and just had fun doing that, like that was awesome. And even though it's outdated, like I used to love getting that little ticket and buying a game and then trading the ticket in for the game at that little like kiosk type thing. Toys R Us was fucking awesome, and it's kind of a shame that future generations aren't going to be able to experience that the same. But then again, they have like fucking Wi-Fi and stuff, so it's like, you know.
The thing that made Toys R Us really special compared to any other big box store, or there's not even any other toy stores really, they let you play with the toys there. And that was something that they did. Well, they had a bunch of toys that are out at any given moment that you could check out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you just grab any toy off the shelf and open the box, start playing with it,
Right.
but they have them on display. You go to Walmart, they ain't got nothing on display. Maybe at most you can grab one of the balls out of those like rubber bands they have holding them together there, and like that's it. That was something that made them really special. And I can't say that like I sing the Toys R Us song and like, oh, Jeffrey was my freaking friend or whatever the bullshit was. Like, I don't have any huge memories of Toys R Us, but this is capitalism just working itself. Toys R Us couldn't adapt; they couldn't keep up. Not only that, they got fucked really bad. Like, the more I'm reading about the story, like the people who bought the company basically took a loan to purchase Toys R Us, and then saddled the loan on Toys R Us to pay off the one that bought them. It's pretty messed up. So it's an unfortunate way for it to go down. A lot of people losing their jobs. One thing I didn't see on the news yesterday is that Amazon is apparently scoping out a lot of the contracts that they had with the property owners, and it's funny. It's going backwards for them. They're looking to purchase physical stores and start selling out of those. Amazon's actually going from the internet to physical locations, and they want to start at these Toys R Us stores because they're big and they're already known for having product like that there.
20 years from now, people are going to be like, so tell us about the way that you used to shop online instead of just going to a store and buying things in person.
I don't know. I feel like Toys R Us closing. I wasn't like in Toys R Us a lot, but you know, toy stores in general, and kids having that place to go and just have fun. A lot of those places are really closing. A lot of what they're doing for kids now, they'll stick an iPad in their face, and you know, that is their entertainment. And that part of it is unfortunate. It was obviously a long time coming, like Blockbuster and all those other stores. But I think what makes me the saddest is that that's another physical outlet for kids that they're losing, you know?
Yeah, they have to like now depend on things like the playpen at McDonald's, and even then it's sort of like it's just not the same as 20 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever, you know, like things used to be a little bit more wholesome and a little bit more, I guess, like, I shouldn't say like, you know, things were better back then, because no, most things are better in time, but you used to be able to target towards different audiences specifically, and now everything's kind of like, you know, you go to Amazon, you can search for anything on there, and that's great, but you go to like the toy section and look stuff online. It's different when you take a kid to a store and they can actually see what the thing is, and they go like, wow, you know what, I actually really like this toy, and you know, there's a certain charm to that. And now with like people going to Walmart or whatever, it's kind of just like, all right, well, you can look at the toys, meanwhile I pick up a new set of bath towels and stuff. Like, end of an era, you know.
One more thing I do want to say about this topic is the greatest Toys R Us in the world was in Times Square, New York City.
Absolutely.
And I've had the very lucky to visit that store a number of times, and I was especially happy the last time I got to go was actually with you, Tony. It was when we were down there for Comic-Con, and I did not know it at the time that that store would be closing just a few months later. So I was happy I got to get myself in there and see it one last time before that happened.
Yeah, it was a fun little time just walking around, and the only person that looked like they really deserved to be there was Caitlin.
Found like the freaking like Rice Krispie bar that was like the size of her.
I don't know if that's more of a positive for the Rice Krispie bar or negative for Caitlin. But yeah, Toys R Us, you know, I got a Toys R Us right in my area that I'm sure they're going to fill in with something that I'm just going to be like, ugh, there's like another designer shoe place or something like that, you know, but it is what it is, you know. If you can't really figure out a way to continue selling your stuff, then eventually you go away. That's capitalism, like you said.
At least we're going to get a good last Toys R Us Twitter account opened up, and we should get some funny tweets from that.
Was anybody thinking about like rating their Toys R Us?
I did.
I thought about it. I decided not to. I figured, you know, if I still liked Star Wars as much, maybe I would, but
I was thinking of trying to go grab some Lego sets, but I figured the good ones would be picked over by the time I got a chance to get there, so I was like, nah, whatever.
Lego is a good thing. Yeah, I didn't think about Legos. I haven't gotten a fucking Lego set in...
Legos are still really relaxing. I enjoy doing a Lego set every once in a while.
Yeah. I need that. Let's see, another question here. Do you watch the pre-show for pay-per-views hosted by Kathy Kelly and Renee Young? Does anybody? I didn't even know that they existed.
No.
I didn't know they existed. There was one, I think it was on YouTube, for Fastlane, and it was just Kathy Kelly and Renee Young, not even remotely in character. They were talking about the six-pack, and then Ziggler showed up, and they were just joking around and laughing about like Ziggler's stand-up comedy, and oh yeah, you have a match tonight. Oh yeah, I better try really hard. It was just a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff. It didn't even seem relevant to the show, but it was good to see them just having a laugh. Yeah.
I barely pay attention to the pre-show as it is.
Yeah, that's...
So. Let's see, what was this one? I took one of those Facebook quizzes, picked the woman in WWE. They told me I'd be on a deserted island with Bailey. Good for me. She's the female PD Nice. Using your personality, who do you think you'd be deserted on an island with? Don't say Alexa because she won best personality unless you really feel it. I love how Peter has to put out there, like, don't just say that you're amazing and that Alexa Bliss is great. I think...
Hold on. Actually, before you answer, I think rather than each of us saying who we think it should be, I think we should pick it for other people here.
That makes sense.
We should we should all agree as a group who it would be for that person.
Let me bring up my roster page right now, just for reference.
Does it have to
bring
be
on the
people?
women?
I guess it has to be current people, huh?
I assume current. I mean, if you have somebody else in mind, then you know.
Let's stick with the current ones, the current crop. You can go with NXT as well, I guess.
So for Peyton, I would have to go with either, you're going to hate me for this, either Ruby Riott or maybe, no, not her.
I'm trying to think. I'm thinking maybe Becky Lynch.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It's the first time I'm really interacting with Peyton, but I'll say Becky Lynch. He seems like Becky Lynch might be right up his alley.
Yeah, I'd say Becky's a pretty good one for me. I would also say Nia Jax because we would just fucking eat all the time.
And that's okay.
Now, we'll save Tony for last, I guess. So, Robert, same. I don't know you very well, but if I had to just take a rough guess here, I am gonna say Ember Moon.
Yeah, and I'd be totally okay with that.
Yeah,
the main thing I know about Robert is his obsession with Dolph Ziggler. So I'd have to go with whoever the female equivalent to Dolph Ziggler is. So I'd probably go Natalya.
I like the Ember Moon pick. That makes sense.
All right.
If you were in the Cats, maybe Aaliyah, but
so who would you say, Rob?
For myself?
Yeah.
Who would you want?
I could totally see myself getting along with an Ember Moon or even a Bailey for me. You know.
Do you hear about that hug life?
I am.
Now, Callum, you're a fun one.
Oh, thank you for saying so.
Let's see here.
I'm going to try to not, give you the obligatory, here's the foreign chick for the foreign guy.
I'm going to go Dakota Kai for Callum.
That was one of the most
she's
too
cute.
because she's like 8.
I'm not just going by the looks based thing, but she's got a cute personality as well.
She's very cute.
You're definitely not like a Nikki Cross.
Oh, Nikki Cross, that'd be amazing. That'd be so much fun. I'm a big fan of most of the women's roster, so in terms of their characters as well as their looks and stuff like that. So it's just I'm kind of happy with most. Just don't
I'm sticking with Dakota Kai for Callum.
Yeah, don't stick with me Tamina, and I'm happy.
I was actually going to say Tamina because I feel like you would say something stupid at inopportune moments.
So tell me about your dad. Oh.
No, jeez. I could see you being with What about Sasha Banks for you, Callum? You think?
No.
No.
Callum's not sassy enough.
He ain't no boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are we talking? We're talking strictly with their character.
Yeah, just personality wise of their character.
Well, if we're gonna go with the form, let's just go with Lana.
Oh well, then I might also say Becky for Callum because she's kind of quirky. I think
Becky's
Callum's
mine.
a quirky guy.
I called
Yeah,
Becky.
I don't want to be both Peyton and Becky. It's going to be a bit weird. Now Tony. I mean, we know he wants us to say Alexa, but we're not saying
I actually had somebody else. I actually had somebody else in mind.
No, I'm gonna go with Nikki Bella.
Why Nikki?
Because actually no, we can go with Stephanie because you're the boss here. But I was gonna say Nikki, where you politic your way to the top.
Is that because you can look but you can't touch?
I was thinking maybe Naomi because he wears the fluorescent pink shirts. So feels like the
Well, if it's pink, wouldn't that be Natalia?
Oh, maybe.
I'm looking. I could see Tony having a good time on a deserted island with Renee Young. I mean,
You know what? That
they
that
both
makes
like
sense.
to talk. They're on every talk show they can possibly get on. So, you know,
She has an
Tony and
appreciation
Renee.
for like dumb jokes. That makes sense. Glad that nobody was like, "Oh, totally a Sarah Logan." Kind of a thing where it'd be like,
I'm glad no one got stuck with Paige too.
This is
All right,
my
now-
island.
now I'm curious enough. We got to pick one for Kaylin. We got to pick one for Wago and one for Drew.
Oh, fuck that.
Drew, in particular, like, I mean,
Well, Drew would be Tamina then. He'd be the one always stuttering and saying the wrong things.
Drew.
You're gonna look like James Ellsworth.
So tell me, did your dad actually kill that woman? Just between us. That's what he gets for not showing up.
It is.
Wago will go with Ronda Rousey.
Wago, I could see maybe a little bit of Shayna Baszler.
Oh yeah, I think Ronda Rousey might be too high for him. You can go with the discount Ronda Rousey.
And just like
that
antagonistic.
discount. You can go for discount and give him Sonya Deville.
Sonya Deville, yeah.
Kaylin, the first person I thought of was Lacey Evans. I don't know why.
I'm not even sure I know which one that one is.
She'd have to be with someone who like doesn't know who they are essentially, because she's got like 5 personalities all rolled into one. So I think maybe Kanan's more like a trying to think. So, because I always like equate Kanan to like very similar to Tony. So if Tony was to end up with someone like Renee Young or per se, then he would get Kathy Kelly.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
He gets the discount one.
Well, no, he's a girl's name. So you know what? Maybe we should actually put him with like Andrade Cien Almas or something.
I like this question. This was a good one. What else we got here from Peter? What do you think of WWE superstars using their real names on Twitter? I don't really like it all that much. I don't like how they blur the line. I want to know, is the tweet coming from a character or is it coming from the person themselves? Because I don't like when... I don't follow Twitter all that often, let alone because I just don't really like the medium. But it's weird to me to see, like, say, when Charlotte was a heel, that it would be like, I really hate Becky Lynch and I can't wait to beat her ass. And then the next picture is her hanging out with her backstage smiling.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be like, if you want to have certain characters play the part of the Twitter character kind of thing, have that be their stage name kind of a thing. And then have the other people do a personal account. Kind of like Cody Rhodes. I think that works better.
I think that they do this more on Instagram, where it seems like every wrestler's Instagram handle is their real name, or if it's not their handle, then their real name is in the profile. And I don't like it. You know, you're a character on TV. WWE is your bread and butter. You're not really a thriving actor or actress, so just stick to the character, you know?
That's not fair to say at all, man. Like, people know what it is. You don't have people who like play parts on other shows with their character name as that. I mean, maybe some of them do, who are really like extra marks for themselves, but like, I don't know, freaking I'm blanking on his name. The guy who plays Jon Snow's Twitter handle though isn't at Jon Snow. Well,
then I'll say this: maybe they shouldn't use social media as an advancement of storyline, because it's weird to have one. Okay, this is an in-character tweet, and this is how I really feel as a person.
Do you really have that hard of a time differentiating?
No, but it's just an annoying thing that they do, you know? I just don't care for it very much.
I think the problem that you get into with that is when the wrestlers themselves buy into the characters more. And, like...
Like Woken Matt Hardy?
Like a Ryback, kind of.
Oh.
You know, he got to a point where he is basically just sort of somebody to laugh at, kind of, because he's always a character now. He's lost a little bit of his actual, like, identity, I think. Unless that is him. You know, maybe that is him.
I don't really have too much of an issue with it. I just, like, the only, like, thing that gets me a little bit confused about it is just that some of them do have it as their real name and some of them have it as their stage name. There's just not a great deal of consistency, and so you're kind of questioning why people are using their real name. Does it make it makes you feel like when I saw Becky Lynch's Twitter for the first time and it was actually Rebecca Quinn, I thought, oh, is she leaving soon? Why has she changed her name to like her real name instead?
Yeah, like the whole, Mike Kanellis, but they were announcing his Twitter handle as real Mike Bennett, and everybody knew Mike Bennett. They should have just left him as Mike Bennett. I don't know.
They need to own the name.
I think it would be better if they had everybody just have, like, at WWE, whatever the character is, kind of a thing. Instead of, like, when Enzo was in there, his was the real one. And, it would be kind of easier to just be, like, at WWE Enzo Amore or something like that.
Because there's nothing wrong with having multiple accounts. You have an in-character one and then a personal.
Yeah. Like, that would be the better one, I think. Because then you'd get the behind-the-scenes stuff and you'd get the Twitter bullshit,
And then it'd be a lot easier for WWE because they have a social media guy who probably has access to all these accounts. Do you really let someone have access to your personal Twitter? I think it's just easier for the company to create their own handles and their own identities.
Yeah. But it's not the biggest, most important thing in the world either. So you take what you could get, kind of. At least it's not tout.
Yes.
Do you think that if Undertaker and Roman were undefeated at Mania, last year's Mania would have meant more? Requirement for this, Taker beats Brock 30 and Roman beats Brock at 31. Yeah, for sure. If you have an undefeated Undertaker and an undefeated Roman Reigns fighting last year, significantly more.
Well, just with the Undertaker's unbeaten streak, that's all you really need. Like, Roman would have been at like 2-3 wrestling. Roman would have been at like 2 or 3 WrestleManias at that point, and 2 of them would have been tag team matches. So it's not like he had a very impressive undefeated streak.
Nah, but he could have used that as like, look, I'm starting my own streak, and I gotta beat yours to kind of continue it, kind of a thing, One undefeated streak would be ending no matter what, and the more that you stack on top of it, definitely means more.
I guess so, but like in reality, like as soon as you kill the Undertaker streak, then any match after that point doesn't feel as special anymore. That's just the way it goes, really.
Well, look at how hard they have to go just to try to get him in the ring with Cena. When if he still had the streak, it would have been very simple. John Cena wants the streak.
Yeah. Then that would have meant more too.
Yeah.
Still Undertaker, so still good, but I don't even think that there's an argument for whether or not it would mean more. I think that it definitively would. Kind of the same as like if John Cena versus Undertaker was for a championship this year, it would mean more, But
I would also say that if Undertaker's streak was still alive at the time when he faced Roman Reigns, and if Roman was to win that match like he did, he would have had to turn heel at that point. Like, there would have been no question about it. You can't give Roman Reigns the streak as well as anything else and keep him as a babyface.
Well, we've seen that they're just going to do whatever they want.
I mean, I know they would have done it anyway, but like it would have been even more preposterous than it already was.
Instead of 5 minutes of straight booing, it would have been...
You wouldn't be allowed in the building.
But man, imagine the heat if he would have ended the streak too. Missed opportunity. I have never liked the idea that Brock Lesnar ended the streak.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere, really.
He hit him with an RKO.
See, again, what's so crazy about the greatest athlete in combat sports beating an old, shriveled up man? Like, it's not that crazy of an idea to think about.
Like, when you look at it through that, it isn't crazy, but I just don't think it necessarily needed to happen, because they didn't...
He
didn't need it.
Dude, because they booked Brock so shitty those first couple years he was there.
That I'll agree with.
They had to shine him back up, because they wanted to put that title on him, and it made him legit like instantly, man.
Well, that, I mean, if you can do the whole hindsight kind of thing, like what I'm doing with saying that they shouldn't have done it, I don't think he ever should have lost that match to John Cena, too.
No, of course he had. No, I mean, if we could redo everything, I'm saying because of the situation they were in, the best way for them to make Brock look like a beast again was to end that streak. I think it was the right call, ultimately. Do I think it could have been a younger guy? Like, yeah, that could have worked, too, but it's not like it was wasted. It made Brock a big star again.
Undertaker had to pay for Hunter's sins.
I will say, he should have left with the streak. So once Brock beat him, that should have been it. I don't think anyone would have had any issue with that at all.
Well, I'll be curious if this is actually his last match this year.
I think it will be.
It seemed like last year was the end, and then now we're getting another one. And
well, the question,
even if
will he come back as American Badass? Because that whole like taking off the hat and gloves thing, it was symbolic for a reason. And maybe we just thought it meant that he was retiring, but maybe it's just that he's retiring the dead man mantle.
Maybe. And I don't want that to happen because I like Undertaker as the Undertaker, but with John Cena, you can pretty easily do the American Badass version instead.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
I mean, that was the persona he had the only time they fought on pay-per-view before, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm starting to really start going into that. I think that's how they're going to do it, but maybe that's actually a plan specifically to make it easier for his post-wrestling career, too. He ends the Undertaker character. He continues as the guy who was the Undertaker, but he talks more, and then that makes it easier for him to do a Hall of Fame induction and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yo, I hope this is not his last match. You know why? Because I want Undertaker and Matt Hardy to have one of those deletion-style matches. Could you imagine the gimmicks?
I would have a lot of fun with that.
He goes into the Lake of Reincarnation and comes out as Mean Mark Callis.
Yes! Yes!
And then he throws Kane in there and he comes back as Isaac Yankum. And Fake Diesel.
Yeah, so there you go. Brothers of Destruction versus Matt and Brother Nero. Oh, please make this happen.
At the Hardy compound, because there's nowhere else to do it. I would really like that match.
Man, just start making that a regular thing with everybody. Have the Godfather in a match, and he comes back as Kama Mustafa, the Supreme Fighting Machine.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That'd be amazing. Well, we were talking about Roman Reigns here. Peter's other question for that is, if Roman is the new Cena, who is his Orton?
Seth Rollins.
That was my first thought. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe Braun Strowman will end up being that for him.
Oh.
I don't know whether I'd take a bit of issue with this question. Like, is Cena and Orton really a thing?
Not anymore, but it was.
And their narrative, their narrative, it is.
In WWE's narrative, it is. But yeah, I guess so. But like, they kind of put them in the same breath as like, oh, this is a Rock and Steve Austin type feud. But
you know what, man? Like, when did you start watching wrestling, Callum?
2002.
So you're around there. I mean, a lot of people I talked to that started watching wrestling between like 2002 and 2008. Like they really do look at Orton as a big star. Like he was a big influence in them continuing to watching. So I would say, yeah, they were at one point on par. Orton just fizzled out while Cena just continued going on for another decade, you know?
I mean, I have no issue with these two being the biggest stars, but I don't really see it as like them ever having... They fought quite a lot of times, but I never considered there being the standout rivalry of this period. I mean, Cena's biggest rival is Edge in this period, but I'd probably say Edge is a lot higher up than Orton.
No, Edge was never that big of a star as Orton was. I think it was... It's not just a in-ring rivalry. I think it was also a professional rivalry where they both challenged each other to be better at their craft. And I think that is where we do see Seth and Roman. I mean, they came in together with the Shield, and Roman is more of the show-off kind of guy, where Seth is more of the better in-ring technician. That's also kind of was with Cena and Orton. They had that same dynamic. That's why I see those equivalencies.
I kind of look at it as a triumvirate a little bit, though. Like Cena, Orton, and Batista are all kind of tied in together.
Oh, yes, for sure. And you know what? You were saying Braun would fill the role of Batista then.
Exactly. That's why I thought about the Braun Strowman connection, because you would think it would be Dean Ambrose with the Shield, but Ambrose...
Poor Ambrose.
Yeah, he is just not
Ambrose is like the hardcore Holly.
Yeah, he really just like everybody when it first started, everybody's like, "Oh, Dean Ambrose is going to be the main eventer," and then pretty quickly after the Shield disbanded, it got to a point where people are like, "All right, that's just not happening," and he's never been able to bounce back. So Rollins and Reigns have had this good tete-a-tete. Strowman, this past year, man, he really put a number on Reigns as far as like matching him in a lot of different qualities. The same as like Cena and Orton were kind of on par with each other. They both came in with OVW. They both came in as like the young upstarts that are getting big pushes and everything like that. And Strowman's sort of on par with Roman Reigns that way. Like I can see Braun and Roman being one of those matches that we get like once a year or once every other year or whatever like that, where it's kind of like, here there are these two like clashing at it again. Like we know the big story between these two, like, you know, kind of like a Triple H and Rock, where Rock Austin a little bit.
I do have one other answer for this, and if you're talking about current day, that's who I would say the answer is Seth Rollins. But if you talk about when Roman was coming into his main event career, which was, you know, around the time when Cena and Orton, I think that feud was at its most significant. I actually say another answer would be Daniel Bryan.
Kind of like the opposite when it comes to small guy supported by everybody versus big guy supported by the machine kind of thing.
Well, I wouldn't say that was necessarily Orton, because Orton was like this multi-generational star that got a big rub out of the gate.
I was just gonna say that's the reason why I don't really equate Orton to the likes of Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan, because they're people that the fans want to get behind. They're like the independent guys that work their way up to WWE, whereas both Orton and Cena are really kind of products of the machine.
Really have that? Like AJ Styles has that, and like Samoa Joe has that to a lesser degree. I don't really see Seth Rollins as one of those like indie darling kind of guys.
He was, and then they've done so much to kind of water him down that I think people don't care for him that much anymore.
How about that Tyler Black reference the other day? That was funny.
Where?
Tyler Black is kind of thing.
Tyler Black and Prince Devitt. Oh, you're such a fucking smart Miz. Congratulations.
I love how he said Nevitt.
Did that
He didn't even call him the right name.
Did that
yeah, the Miz threw that out on Monday Night Raw. He's like, you know, when they were wrestling on bingo
crazy.
halls as Tyler Black and Prince Nevitt.
Nevitt.
I love the Miz. Fucking Miz. Speaking of Twitter, I loved his response with the Daniel Bryan thing that he posted the gif of himself like half-assed clapping, and he's like, "Oh, great!" Like,
that match is going to be.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
If they
It's
don't
gonna be a lot of heat
move
around it,
Miz back to SmackDown and make
Well,
Daniel
who's
Bryan
to say
and the Miz,
Daniel Bryan stays on SmackDown? I think Daniel Bryan's got to come to Raw.
I think he has to stay on SmackDown so they can get more viewers.
SmackDown needs the viewership, yeah.
SmackDown, if this Fox deal goes through, SmackDown's going down the hole.
Yeah, I'd imagine that
the whole brand split's probably going to be demolished anyway. So
that Fox thing's huge.
I agree that SmackDown would need would benefit definitely from the viewership of Daniel Bryan, but the idea is once you've got someone who's actually going to draw reins on SmackDown, you move them over to Raw. That's the way they do things. So
this is true. But
this is a real quick aside, but if that Fox thing happens, I wouldn't be too shocked if Raw gets split and it ends up being 2 hours where it's an hour of Raw and an hour of SmackDown. Or something like that. I would not be shocked about that.
Like the Raw Super Show thing they used to do?
No, like an actual, like it's on the TV guide as like WWE Monday Night Raw, WWE SmackDown.
So think of like they used to have like Raw is War for
Raw,
1 hour,
yeah.
Warzone. Yeah.
Yep.
But only they would actually be like split rosters for those times.
Yeah. I would not be shocked if that happened. But that's if it happens too. I mean, that like this whole thing could just be USA goes, all right, we'll give you a little bit more money. And the XFL, I think, is the key. That's the key to everything. If Fox and XFL have some kind of a partnership, XFL is going to have the tie-in to WWE.
Did you see that announcement the other day? Apparently, there's going to be another alternative football
from
league.
Ebersol.
Yeah, it's being financed by the son of Dick Ebersol, who is a really close
did the
executive
documentary,
friend
the
of
13th.
Vince McMahon. Well, like they had a big relationship back in the day, NBC and WWE, when they did like Saturday Night's Main Event on NBC all the time, and
Yeah,
The lo-
Nick Ebersol was as much of a partner with Vince as anybody's ever been. So
But
I'm
it's-
yeah,
surprised.
so it's very interesting that they're going to be competitors now, and I would say that definitely demolishes any chance of any relationship between WWE and NBC again. But that's probably even more the reason why they should develop a relationship with Fox, and even more the reason why Fox would probably be looking for some kind of product that they can have on there for football.
Well, isn't
compete with them.
it's the Alliance of American Football? I think it's what it's
Yes.
called.
It's something like that, yeah.
Correct.
Isn't that going to be on CBS?
Oh,
I think it's
So-
CBS.
I
so-
don't know for
no,
sure.
no,
actually.
yeah, it's, the opening weekend and the final are going to be on CBS, but the rest of it are going to be. I don't think it's on that sort of broadcast television.
Hmm. Well, that alone, I mean, if that's CBS, then that is all the more reason for Fox to be like, all right, fuck you, CBS. We want our own, you know. Very interesting, though. This next year is going to be big as far as that's concerned. So pay attention to that. Our final question from Peter is at
Well,
lockdown.
hold on. I didn't even answer the whole Roman
Oh, you
beating
didn't?
Cena thing.
We're
But-
talking about football now.
Yeah, I know. But if you're gonna look at this question, if you're just looking at Roman's biggest rival, I think I would have to say Strowman. But if you're looking for that brings the best out of you from a on the mic and in the ring, I would think Seth Rollins probably has to be the guy for now. Roman is just getting started. Maybe he'll find another guy down the line.
Lucky Cannon.
Oh my god. You remember Lucky Cannon?
It
What a
randomly popped
name.
up in my fucking name.
I don't think AJ Styles would be a terrible answer for this either. Just to throw that out there.
They had such a good rivalry. I'm so sad that was done so quick.
How good has AJ been in WWE? Like, this dude has just, it's so good.
So good.
Final question from Peter. At Lockdown 2013, Bully Ray turned a heel on Jeff Hardy. The fans went on to throw their trash in the ring at Aces and Eights. Do you think the fans will do the same when Roman beats Brock at WrestleMania?
Well, let me just say, Peter, anytime that TNA Wrestling had ever had a trash thrown in the ring a la NWO in 96, that was started by a plant in the audience, and then people just started throwing shit in the ring because fuck it.
Specifically,
Listen.
Mitch.
If Bully Ray was in there already was trash in the ring, so it didn't make a difference.
Jesus.
Yeah, there's as much trash in the ring already than there was being thrown into it. They won't do that at WrestleMania. First of all, because they will stop anybody that starts throwing stuff in the first place. Like,
And it's a
just immediately.
stadium.
Yeah, and to be fair,
the
they'll probably
scenario
be.
is if Roman beats Brock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question.
People don't give a shit about Lesnar. I mean, they're gonna be mad, but they're gonna be happy to have a full-time Universal Champion more than anything. I think.
It's going to get boos. That's the thing. Like, but it's not going to get a trash moment, you know?
I think a big thing about this is that I don't think this match is going to be last. And I think that may be what saves it. If it was last, I could see there being, I don't think they're going to throw trash, but I could see definitely a negative reaction. But I think this match will be like third, maybe fourth from the bottom, actually. So it's going to be like a nothing of importance moment, really.
Well, because that's why they're doing Cena and Taker, right? To have that thing that can go on last.
No, that's the Ronda Rousey match.
Well, I think it could be either. I think it could be either of those two. And honestly, I wouldn't be completely shocked if they did Asuka Charlotte last year.
That's the one I was going to bring up. I would not be shocked at all if they did that.
I'm going with the first ever female main event for next year's Mania. I don't think it's this year.
But in terms of like the match with Brock and Roman, I think that's just going to be the crowd reaction is going to be the definition of apathy.
I think we're gonna get they are probably hoping that we get boo yeah, and we're gonna get boo boo, or like let's go Byron, and like that kind of Randy Savage chants and stuff.
Savage, yep, exactly.
Yeah, and then on Monday Night Raw they'll redo all the whole clips and be like the fans went crazy and they'll look at all the cheers and stuff like that, and they'll act like it was never a boo, and
they'll find the one guy holding the Roman Reigns sign.
Yeah, the guy that they fucking planted in there, the one that looks like with the long hair That's at the fucking front row of everything lately.
Mm.
One of those kind of things.
I don't know if it's gonna be Boo Boo because I do think people like
Hey, boo boo.
Lesnar.
If it's
But,
Boo, yeah, it's a yeah for Lesnar.
yeah, because they like Lesnar. They just want Lesnar around, you know. Like,
They want Lesnar to stop being Lesnar. They want Lesnar to be the character of Lesnar
from
and not the
2000.
person. Well, let's pivot over to Howard Starr's question here. Who would win in a match between Roman Reigns now and Luther Reigns in 2004?
Yeah, Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Definitely Roman Reigns.
Don't even
Wow.
try and make a clever answer to this.
It's Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I was gonna do something, but yeah, Roman Reigns.
Just answer and move on. Let's go.
Next.
Go to Frankie's questions. Frankie sent a lot in, not going to answer a good
that was
portion
the
of them.
only question this guy sent in.
From Howard, yeah. Howard does like one shots.
Thanks,
I like
Howard.
Howard. Yeah. Howard's just sort of like, here's my question. I'm not going to throw too many out there for you.
And that's not the caliber of serious question that we like on this podcast. So
Yeah,
Well, it's
we're gonna
just,
start-
listen, if it was like one of a dozen questions, maybe we'd give it a little more attention, but we got like freaking 40 questions here, so like
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's true.
And a lot of them from Frankie over here. We're just going to start snack talk already. What weird food combinations do you like? I don't think I really like any weird food combinations because anytime that I ever
you
thought of
are
anything,
like the most freaking what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Vanilla.
no,
bland,
like you know, like kids who just like will not eat anything.
fussy.
picky.
Picky.
Picky,
Finicky?
yeah, picky as fuck. You're one of
I
the most
do
picky
have
motherfuckers. This guy orders a pizza with no tomato sauce on it. He
What?
doesn't drink
Not-
soda because it's spicy.
not no tomato sauce, light on the sauce. Yeah, I do not like soda though. Do not like carbonation. But I don't have, and this is going to answer a thing from later on with condiments. I don't like condiments at all, like any of them. So there's not a whole lot of like weird food combinations. Like some people are like, well, I like mustard and I don't know. I don't even know what would be
Honey.
fucking weird at that
You get
point.
honey mustard.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, like a lot of people do kind of weird shit, and there's people that are like, I'll take a pickle and I'll slather mayonnaise on it and eat it on a peanut butter sandwich, and it's like, that's fucking weird. But I don't think I like anything all that strange. What about you guys? Is there like some kind of weird, do you do the whole, I put chocolate in my cereal kind of a thing or something?
I don't really like anything weird like that either. Like I can't stand like stuff that I like that's good already. Like I don't like weird stuff on pizza. I don't like weird stuff in ice cream or cake or like.
Well, what do you mean
brownies.
weird stuff on ice cream?
Well, that's the thing. I don't even mean like necessarily weird stuff. Like I don't even want like nuts or like.
Like pieces of candy?
Yeah, like I think that's good enough as it is. Why you gotta mess it up by putting shit in it?
Hmm.
Like it's good as it is.
I'm very pro candy and ice cream. Nuts.
I mean,
and
if it's
nuts
like a
about.
blizzard, that's fine. But as far as like the actual ice cream itself as it's made, again,
Well,
it's
I'd
especially
go.
nuts.
I'd go like soft serve with like Oreo and Reese's kind of chunks. That's like my main combo. Vanilla soft serve.
I'm not picky, but I would probably say that my food tastes are basic. Like, if it's a good steak, that's probably all you need with whatever side it is. You don't need to like throw in all this extra shit. For a weird combination, I've made like Nutella and peanut butter and banana sandwiches for breakfast.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, I said sandwiches. That's a family thing. I try to remember that when not talking to family people, but yeah.
It's a weird combination because there's a G in there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where we got that from, but that's most of the weird combinations I do. I like Spam, and people find that fucking disgusting. So, I'll eat Spam with lots of different things. I guess that's a weird combination for most.
I put ketchup on pretty much everything. So if anything that you'd think is kind of weird to have ketchup on, I've probably eaten it. So
I hate you for that.
I know it's not the most popular opinion here, but yeah, I put it in like salads and stuff like that. So I'd cover salads in ketchup and stuff along those lines.
Yeah, that's weird.
I'd eat most vegetables with ketchup, so it's fine. It's fine. It tastes good. It's essentially just tomatoes.
Yeah. Nah.
Nope.
When you are older, what do you think children will ask you to tell stories about? 9/11?
I'm going to tell you an incredible story. The story of how I met your what? Yeah, probably
Story of 9/11.
Probably 9/11, AOL.
Yeah, technology is a big thing, of course. The whole, like, we used to use Walkman and, couldn't fit in your pocket and whatever, like things like that. Obama and Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a big switch.
Trump.
I also think, too, that I think might not necessarily have been brought up. I thought about it when I was writing this up, and I was just kind of like, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. The build of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and what Star Wars used to be like before Disney bought them.
Yep.
I think that that's going to be something that in the future people will be like, Star Wars is just, I mean, it already is an institution, but it'll be like, yeah, we get a Star Wars movie every year. What do you mean that you had 3 of them until 1999, and then you had 3 other ones, and then it was dead? Like, that'll just be like, what? And we are now living in a post-MCU film universe where they did it. They had the thing that nobody was ever able to do before. You took multiple separate movies that had a tie-in together, and you made a cross-branded universe. Everything tries to do that now. The Transformers are trying to do it for some fucking reason. The DC EU, the Dark Universe with the Mummy and all that kind of stuff. Everybody wants to have their own universe. And it all started with a Marvel. So it's going to be like, what was it like when you saw Iron Man in the theater and they had Nick Fury pop up and go like, hey, Avengers is coming. And then you were like, oh shit. And, 10 years ago, that was starting. Infinity War's coming out in a couple of weeks. So fucking pumped. But 16 tickets for it. For everybody that was going to be going.
Jesus.
I think going from like a UK perspective, Brexit is probably going to be a big talking point in the future. So just to see how the fuck did you let this happen type thing. I'm hoping that's kind of the reaction.
What was Elon Musk like?
We're going to get a lot of like Black Lives Matter and Trump and mostly Trump.
I'm also wondering like how, like in terms of how do you quantify older? Because I'm hoping like by the time I'm, I don't know, 70 or 80 and got grandkids that want to know about things, I would say, what was it like when cancer was still killing millions of people and stuff like that? Like, because you kind of hope with the amount of research that goes into it, then that would have been eradicated by that point and stuff like that.
If Elon Musk has his way.
Exactly. So you have like, when like AIDS was still killing millions of people and stuff like that, or basically a load of like diseases that are considered prominent now, like back in the, I don't know, 19th century when people talk about polio and stuff like that. Eventually these things do get eradicated if you put enough time and effort into it. So hopefully by the time we're old, we'll be able to say what it was like back then.
If we go far enough in the future, I hope we've got a future where people are saying, what was it like before you had automated car Uber type things and you would drive around on your own, as opposed to what was it like when you used to be able to experience the sun,
Yeah.
What was it like before the massive nuclear war that wiped out like half
the like that kind of shit, It must have been fun to have leaves, trees and stuff.
I was downstairs and I was at a range, and I don't know if I heard anybody say it as an answer for this, but I think the biggest answer for this, without a doubt, is 9/11.
Yeah, that was the first one.
The first thing Tony said.
And especially being here so close to New York. Like, I could see the smoke on the skyline. My school was evacuated that day. It was a chaotic day, and like just watching all that go down, and just how much the world changed. I mean,
we're in a post 9/11 world. They actually have a term for it,
The world in June of 2001 and in December of 2001 was like living in different fucking planets. Yeah, it was so different.
I had taken a plane on the 8th of September, and you were able to like get there minutes before your flight. They just were like, go right through. And, here we are just a few weeks after that, and flying would never be the same again.
It's crazy to think that there's children who are graduating high school now that were born after 9/11. So to them, this is like some pre-life event that happened. Kind of like, to us, we think of like Pearl Harbor and like, these things that seemed like ages ago, but really weren't that long before we were born.
Yeah, to them,
that's going to be becoming that now.
Yeah, for them, it will always be history.
You know what I read the other day that made me feel really old? They said, what was it? I don't remember the exact dates, but it was something like the day that 70s show premiered. If you were to do the equivalent now of when that was in relation to when it premiered, it would be like we'd do a show of like that 1998 show.
That is scary.
Which is just like, oh my God, my heart. Because I remember when that 70s show came out, it was just sort of like, oh, that 70s show, that's funny. That was like decades ago. And it's like now it's like kids that would be watching that now would be like, oh, 1990 something or whatever, huh? And it's like,
This is essentially what's like going on. Like 90s stuff is really popular in the retro culture for kids.
90s was awesome. I miss it in some ways. Obama, Trump, the Black Lives Matter type stuff, the MCU, all that. 9/11, I think probably takes the cake more than anything else. I also kind of think that maybe there's going to be some discussion of, like, with the idea of the technology thing, of just like physical media. And, because we got to a point now where you do streaming services and cable is eventually going to switch around, and the idea of going to Blockbuster seems crazy to people that are around now, let alone in the future. If you're like, we actually had these things called tapes, and you held something in your hand, and that was the thing that played something, instead of just, we bought DVD players, we bought Blu-ray players and stuff, and you're not going to need a dedicated extra little thing to that in the future. You already have, PlayStations and stuff that run the games and that, and eventually it's just going to be one computer that does everything.
I had to explain something to a person who wasn't that much younger about what it was like in a pre-on-demand television days, where if you were like watching a series and you missed an episode, like you were fucked. You have to like watch the TV Guide channel, scroll by, and hope that episode was coming on again at like 3:00 in the morning 2 days later or something.
Right, and then like maybe set up your VCR to do an auto recording if you were lucky enough to have one that did that. And if you didn't have the TV Guide channel, which that TV Guide channel sucked balls, where it was just like, let's take a long ass time and then switch over to an ad and stuff.
Yeah,
then you had to get the
channel on the TV Guide channel?
20 minutes to go back again. Or you'd go into the newspaper and look at the TV listings and stuff. And you remember, I don't know if anybody else had this back in the day, but like when instead of a remote, you had that little box with the switches. Anybody else have that?
I had one of those, yeah.
Where you actually had to like push down the button and it would pop up the other button to switch the channel. Old style. That's back in Ninja Turtles VHS tape era,
Or just shows how much these how many of these questions will be technology based, because how much it's developed in just our lifetimes. By the time we're towards the end of our lives or whatever, then imagine what it's going to be like then.
I mean, already it's like my nieces and nephew are like, "What do you mean you didn't have cell phones?" I'm like, I didn't have a cell phone until my senior year of high school.
Oh, I got one more. The console wars of the 90s.
Oh,
Sega Genesis versus the Super Nintendo.
I was going to say, somebody's going to ask you what the hell was a Sonic the Hedgehog. But
it's going to be things like...
He was the fastest thing of all.
I hope you like the stories I could tell my
kids. It's when Sonic went against Mario, and I don't mean at the Olympic Games.
This is things like you can tell your kids or grandkids when you're older, like, I played on the actual PS1. Like, oh my God, you actually played on the PS1.
So like the PS1, and then
I
you're
have
like,
my
no,
little
not the
cousin-
PS1, the PS1.
And I'm telling my little cousin now, oh man, I remember the PS1 and the PS2. Like, it's really crazy how
Shit.
fast everything's jumping, man.
Just take an old Game Boy and just say like, what is this? And they'll be like, I don't know, did you use this to build the pavement outside because it's a brick?
Yeah. Try playing that in the dark.
Why does everything look green? No, it's not your eyes. Let's see here. We got another question here. What movie can you watch over and over again without getting tired of it? I got a bunch, so I'm going to let everybody go first ahead of time.
Euro Trip. The first
I was not expecting that one.
Christ.
Yeah, that one threw me through a loop. I started with that because of that. The first Saw movie, all the Star Wars movies. What
I
else?
said one movie. Come on.
The Christopher Nolan Batman series, and I could go on for days. So somebody else go.
I know it only says one, but I'll limit it to just 3 then. I'll go with Guardians of the Galaxy, Edward, and The Princess Bride.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Back to the Future.
Still have not seen it, actually. It blasphemy, I know. Terminator 2, more than anything. I've seen that movie far too many times. Reservoir Dogs, most of the MCU, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Ghostbusters, Clerks. You take something from my childhood kind of a thing, like Goldeneye. I can watch that forever.
Men in Tights is a great movie.
So good. It's my favorite comedy of all time. What is your favorite emoji? I like the upside down smiley a lot. I don't see that all too often.
I probably use the upside down smiley the most. That or the little peace 2 fingers thing. Use that a lot. So I guess those 2.
If we go by what you use the most, the generic thumbs up. I use that constantly because I just don't feel like talking. It's just like, yep, good, thumbs up.
In terms of what I use the most, I use the smiley face with the tongue sticking out. That's basically my go-to.
Peyton?
Oh, I already said poop.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Poop emoji is great.
Patrick Stewart gave that emoji life, damn it, and he was fantastic.
That's something. What was life like before the Emoji Movie?
It was paradise, son.
What is the best or worst joke you've ever played on somebody? I'm not really a prankster.
Yeah,
I can't really think of anything.
I have to second that.
The only thing I can think of is not that exciting, but there was a World Cup, like the soccer tournament game going on at my work, because for some reason they decided to schedule one of those matches while everyone in the UK was at work. So a load of people were watching it in a theatre room in our office that was on a delay. So I was watching the actual live version on my computer. So I pretended the other team had scored when we'd actually scored at the end, just to think, oh god, there's no point of us watching. We've lost the game now, and then we actually won the match, and so they were a bit annoyed with me about that. But that shows how exciting my pranks are.
That was very European of you.
Yeah, I feel like this is actually a really good question. I feel bad there aren't better answers for this.
Yeah, we're boring people who don't play tricks on people.
I'm just not very sadistic in any way like that. Sadistic, whatever word I'm trying to say there.
Statistics.
I just mind my own business, and I don't really try to bother nobody. So
This is the sort of question
my bag.
This is the sort of question you need Wago for, because he probably would come up with something about.
I got a feeling Wago would be like, oh, this one time, and then we'd be like, that's horrible, dude. What do you mean you I don't know, hooked somebody up to the cattle and whatever,
You probably come up with something like, is it a prank if the guy ended up in hospital or something like that?
Well, I laughed. Is it a prank if you give somebody diverticulitis? No, I'm a ball buster, but that's not really a prank. It's just sort of picking on somebody and just being like, "Yeah, look at this," like that kind of thing. But not a prankster. Is there a food that you want to try but have never eaten?
Cow tongue.
Ew.
Yeah.
I was gonna say various animals, but cow tongue itself, nah. I don't. There's certain body parts I don't want to. I don't want to have like monkey brain.
I was just gonna
But-
say In-N-Out Burger.
I've never had an
You guys
In-N-Out
are being
burger.
Weird. What the
I was gonna go more down the Robert route. I was gonna say a tentacle of some kind.
They never had like
I've had calamari.
Never had
It's very good.
calamari? Yeah, what the hell?
No, I don't. I generally don't eat fish as like typically. If I just want to have an octopus's tentacle, just to say that I've had it.
Just have your chips on their own, huh?
Yeah.
try
no,
some fried calamari if you get a chance. It's pretty good.
Very good.
Now I like eating weird animals. As picky of an eater as I am, if you give me the idea of like, here's like an elk burger, I'm like, all right, fuck yeah. So there's a place somewhere around my area that sells snake, and I don't know why, because we're not an area that would have snake. It's not like New Jersey's a big snake population, and I want like a fucking snake burger or something. I think that seems kind of interesting.
There's snakes everywhere, dude. You'd be surprised. There's way more snakes hiding around than you think.
Now I feel like if I turn around, there's gonna be like 3 of them just like.
I can
Snake?
go for I can try snake.
It's gonna be whacking day. Yeah, you give me the idea of something like that, though. I'm kind of interested in it, and if you were to tell me, say, that like I could get like a seafood dish and it's got some kind of weird seafood thing in there, then maybe I would try it. But I don't do like the chicken gizzard type things.
I
or-
love those. Those are so good.
In-N-Out Burger, though, you brought that up. I've never had an In-N-Out Burger, and I definitely want to try that. And I also want to try Carl's Jr. or Hardee's, because there's none of them in the area. And even though I'm sure it sucks, I still want to try CC's Pizza. I'm sure it's awful.
It's not terrible, but like we're from the Northeast, where like pizza's hard to impress.
Yeah, Pizza Belt.
I'd probably just put it on par of like a Papa John's and all that other bullshit.
I had
shitty
that for the
pizza.
first
That's what
time
I'm
yesterday.
assuming. I'm kind of picturing it's like about on par with like a frozen pizza.
But I do admire an all-you-can-eat pizza bar, though. So even if it is
Yeah.
that kind of shitty pizza, at least it's like an all-you-can-eat kind of deal. That's kind of neat.
I'm surprised there's also not all-you-can-eat taco bar things all over the place. I would think a taco buffet would be one of the easiest things to do.
Probably
They're
not
the
very
same ingredients.
sanitary.
I don't think any buffets really are all that sanitary when it comes to like.
That's fair.
You ever
yeah.
go to Golden Corral?
No.
People that are there just like, oh
I have
man,
no interest in going to Golden Corral.
yeah, don't. Just don't.
Yeah, that's fair. Don't.
You got that chocolate water fountain kind of thing,
Do you ever have frog
and
legs?
yeah, I've
I
had frog
want
legs.
to.
I had frog legs at the Chinese food buffet a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they're not that bad. They taste like chicken.
I've had gator. Gator tastes like chicken.
Gator's like chewy chicken, though.
You know what Luke Harper's favorite thing to eat at a buffet is? The
Gator
gator
roll.
rolls.
A stained
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
wife beater.
Alright, let's move on from there. Huh?
Yeah. What food is delicious but a pain to eat? Gator rolls. Frankie pulls out ribs. Ribs are definitely, they can be annoying, but so worth it. The suggestion I had was corn on the cob.
Oh, yeah,
Really
corn on the
good,
cob.
but fuck, does it get stuck in your teeth?
Yeah. You gotta have those
Crunch.
little floss things with you.
Oh, Captain Crunch. Yeah, that's a
Captain
real good
Crunch.
one.
Mm.
That's like, you sign up for a little bit of pain when you get a bowl of Captain Crunch. Roof of your mouth is just beat to shit.
Really? Ugh.
You never had it?
No, I'm not big on cereal. If I eat cereal, it's like Reese's Puffs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that nobody's ever had a bowl of Captain Crunch without being like, all right, roof of my mouth is fucked for a while. It's good though.
Like oranges are kind of a pain in the butt because you got to peel them and like crap gets left behind on them that gets all chewy and gross.
That like membrane type stuff.
Yeah.
Apple, if you don't like the skin.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone the other day. I don't eat apples like as far as just like grabbing an apple and eating it. Like I really like apple and like apple pie or something more like that. But I can't just bite into an apple. Plus,
I
it,
have
like,
to be in the
cuts
mood.
my
It's
gums.
very rare. Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be good for your teeth too. Like it kind of like hardens them, your gums and stuff too. But sometimes you don't want to eat something that you know is going to get stuck into your teeth, and that skin from that apple that gets stuck in there. Tell you what, popcorn's worth it though. Like if you do the whole like popcorn getting stuck in your teeth, that's worth it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole other sector of food that's not necessarily a pain to eat, but the pain comes later. But the food is delicious.
Yeah, like Taco Bell.
Yeah, we come back to that unlimited taco bar.
Bell.
Yeah. God, imagine if there were the unlimited taco bar things though, like the people that would be leaving. Like you'd be walking in being all like, man, I can't wait to eat some tacos. And everybody else is like, man, I wish I hadn't eat those tacos.
The queue for the bathroom would be as long as the queue for the buffet itself.
Spicy food, like Indian, a lot of that is like painful afterward.
Well, isn't that the next question? What's the spiciest thing you've ever eaten?
There you go. There's the transition. What is the spiciest thing you've ever
Oh,
eaten?
Tony, it's probably Pepsi.
Yeah, I have like such low tolerance for spice. You give me like mild buffalo wings, and I'm like, oh, this is too hot. So jalapeno.
Yeah, I was going to say that I once inadvertently ate a pizza with jalapenos on it, and that was me done. Oh.
I've tried like almost like jerk seasoning, but with goat. Okay, and that was way too spicy for me. I was checked out immediately. Not for me.
I had some wasabi at a sushi bar. Not just any wasabi. It was like this specific wasabi. Because like all wasabi has that like tang to it, but this specific one that this guy made, I don't know, man. I almost passed out with how much it burned. Because wasabi like kind of burns differently than like a habanero or something would. Like this was it burns more around your eyes and your nose and stuff like that. So like when it burns really bad there, it's pretty rough.
Fuck that, man. When I see people eating things at like Chinese places and stuff and they're sweating and crying, I'm just sort of like, I don't know why you do this to yourself. They're like, it's good. You could taste it better. And it's like, fuck all that like ghost pepper type stuff where like, you ever see like Man vs. Food or something where they're, any kind of like cooking show or whatever, where they're preparing something and they're wearing gas masks and gloves and stuff? I ain't putting that shit in my body.
Make all their secret sauces and stuff that like, I just can't imagine like enjoying a type of food that only like 10 people have ever completed a plate of or whatever.
Yeah, where they have to sign a waiver because you end up in the hospital for it and stuff.
Yeah. Kind of puts me off my appetite really if I have to sign something to tell me you might like end up in hospital if you eat it.
Mm-hmm. Especially somebody like myself, like if you have asthma or you have any kind of breathing problems like that, like I'm not trying anything that constricts my breathing flow and nope. Although there is part of me that is just kind of like, maybe one time I would just try. Like, just give me the absolute hottest thing in the world. I'll try one bite and then just die. Probably Pepsi.
Tony, you gotta let it go, man. You gotta just enjoy the Pepsi.
Does anything make you roll your eyes every time you hear it?
I can answer this for Tony.
Dumb questions like this.
Not simple as entrance music.
I can answer this one for Tony. Welcome everyone to Monday Night Raw.
There's so many things. I hate when people speak incorrectly. Like if I hear somebody say "use guys," or "I'm gonna axe you something," or I've been noticing a lot more people have been saying "that how it be." I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. But another thing is, and I know this is gonna piss people off, I think that people are too crazy when it comes to arguing that things are offensive nowadays.
Yeah.
So if somebody's just instinctively by this point, if somebody says they're offended, I tend to roll my eyes before I even know what they're offended about. Because more than likely it's like, oh, I was offended, and it's like, what were you offended about? Well, I went to Bed Bath & Beyond and they had like more tan towels than orange ones. and I'm offended. It's like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like
They
that
had
kind of
him
stuff.
and her towels, but they didn't have they them towels. You know?
Well, here's the thing that I really know. It's not even so much when people they themselves say they're offended, but it's when people say, "Well, somebody might get offended by this,"
Oof,
and that's
even
when they're
worse.
throwing the case about it. That'll give you a good eye roll.
And for that matter, that's going to come off as very like anti-liberal of me, but at the same time, all the opposite end of the shit. Like when I see people posting on Facebook and they're saying like, well, you're not going to ban cars, you shouldn't ban guns, and lack of religion is what's causing all these shootings. You should put God back in school, or it's those violent video games, that's why people are doing whatever, or the anti-abortion people, a lot of that like makes me roll my eyes, because then they'll be like, you know, nope, I wouldn't kill Hitler, like that kind of thing. It's like pretty much anytime anybody has like a platform and they start speaking,
Extremism, I think. Makes
Yeah.
you roll your eyes, Tony.
extremism and stupidity. Because the other thing too, like I mean, I said about like people speaking incorrectly, though, if I'm out in public and I hear somebody just do something like really dumb, like you know, I'm standing in the line at Walmart and somebody's like, oh, this is the cash only line, okay, well, can I use my credit card? Then it's like, why are you a person? Kind of a thing. Anything else that you guys just roll your eyes about? Yeah, I'm very judgmental. It's, you know, I'm 30.
In terms of like rolling my eyes at things, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm really brushed up on politics or anything like that, but it's when you know someone doesn't know anything about politics other than just the people that are involved, and then they try and talk to you as if like they know everything and they know what this guy's policies is or something like that. You just like, no, like I'll just immediately just switch off when I start hearing people talking about that, when I know damn well that they're not going to provide anything interesting to the conversation or actually debate a point, rather than just say, oh, I know this guy's going to do this and that's why I'm voting for him type thing.
That happens so much whenever we start getting close to an election. It's just like, all right, I guess I'm just going to stay away from Facebook for a while, you know?
Yep.
Let's see what else we have here. What's the most expensive thing you've ever broken? Apparently I wrote down, does my own spirit count?
That's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it. I was gonna say.
I don't think I've ever really broken anything all that
I broke the internet
expensive.
once. Nah.
Did you?
Nah. Unfortunately. I was hoping to have some sort of follow up to that, but I didn't, so.
I've never really broken anything too expensive.
I broke a crystal glass once that we had at our had in our house for some reason. It was just like part of a collection of glasses, and I'd use it to try and catch a spider. And because at that point in my life I was terrified of spiders, so I saw it climb out the bottom of the glass and drop the glass and just ruin the entire like collection of it. Because as soon as one goes, then essentially it becomes worthless. So
I broke the skull of a deer when I thwacked into it with the bumper of my car at 45 miles an hour.
Well, that's not either expensive. There's plenty of deer. The car?
No, the car
car's
was quite
expensive.
good, man. That was a Ford. That thing was fine.
What's the Canyon Arrow thing? It's a squirrel smashing deer smacking driving machine. Yeah, if I would have gotten into a car accident, then, most people, I assume if they did that, then that's the most expensive thing that they've broken. Thousands of dollars worth of a car.
Yeah, I nearly totaled my my Focus at one point when I spun out on a windy road and slammed into the median. It was like, I don't know, like $14,000 in damage. It was like just under the point where they would have totaled it. I got kind of lucky in that respect.
What is the best riddle that you know? I don't really know any good ones.
I got one. I always remember this one too. And if you know the answer, good. And even better if you know where it's from.
4.
What's weightless, can be seen by the naked eye, and if you put it in a barrel, it'll make it lighter.
It's a hole, I believe.
You're an a-hole. Yeah, it is a hole.
I'm sorry.
I'm like air.
Honestly, I thought air as well. I was like, but that doesn't make a barrel lighter.
Yeah, unless it was like underneath it or something, But then it's But yeah, hole. Huh. That's a good one. I like that.
That's good.
I'll go with this one. So what? It's what
Four.
word loses like all meaning once you say it out loud?
Silence.
Yeah, I think I worded it incorrectly, but that's pretty much the way of going.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Uh,
I don't need confirmation of that. I know when I fuck up.
Hello,
What's quiet but
darkness,
not
my old
if.
friend.
Anybody else have any others?
No, I tried to think of some, but I really couldn't.
Okay, let's move on. Let's see. When was the last time you told somebody "I told you so"? All the fucking time I get a chance to. I did it the other day.
I don't think I've ever used that terminology before. Like, I know it's quite common phrasing, but I don't think I've ever told someone like "I told you so." Not to their face, anyway. I may say it like behind their back or whatever.
I was just
I tend
watching.
to do the I hate to say "I told you so," but I tend to do that. What were you just watching?
I was just gonna say I was watching Royal Rumble 1992 recently, and it has that great promo section after Ric
At
Flair
the end,
wins.
yes.
And Bobby Heenan and Mr. Perfect cap off their section of it. We're like, we aren't the type of guys to say we told you so, but we told you so. That's all I think I can think of from this.
Yeah. I got some new lamps for my room, which the rest of my family wasn't too sure about, and everybody's really digging them. So I was kind of able to say "I told you so" on that. Unfortunately, I've been on the wrong end of "I told you so" lately.
That sucks when somebody else can say it to you,
Oh yeah,
and you're just kind of like, "Ah, damn it."
yeah. I got to sit here and take it.
What's your cure for hiccups? Time.
Sugar.
Never
Just
tried the sugar thing.
try holding my breath, essentially. Just try and prevent it from happening.
Waiting for weed to be Peyton's answer.
I don't really find them as much of a nuisance. I just deal with it for like the 2 minutes that I have, and then they're gone. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I
That's
find
why
that
I
I
said
don't
time,
get them
it's
a
just-
lot as what I did when I was a kid. Like now, if I have hiccups, they're around for maybe, a minute, but they're not like as persistent as they used to be.
I feel like I
I
remember.
think that might just be our perception of time as kids. Because 2 minutes for a kid, it seems like forever.
I think I remember like once, like a teenager having hiccups for about 10 minutes or so. They just wouldn't stop. Like, it wasn't like constant, like every second I was hiccuping, but like just every 30 seconds or so, just one would come up and it just wouldn't end for. Other than that, it's not too much of an issue.
Anybody ever get the drunk hiccups? I'm not a drinker, so I don't know. But like that whole cartoon kind of thing, when anybody would be drunk, they would just kind of have like the weird, like, kind of things.
That's more from carbonation. So I mean, it's the same thing you would get like if you drink a lot of soda too.
Which Tony doesn't do because it's too
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah, so that'll only be
Strange.
from drinking beer. So it's not like if someone was drinking lots of rum or something that they would get the hiccups.
Just like shots of vodka hiccups. Not really happening, I guess. Well, then again, I'm basing this off of like Tom and Jerry and shit, so it's not really the most scientific thing in the world. We talked about this earlier. Do you think that aliens exist? Totally.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you think that humans are the only in the intelligent life form, or that everything that is living is
I don't even count us among that.
here on Earth, then you're an idiot.
If we don't know what's in our oceans, how the hell are we supposed to say that in the vast, damn near infinite, possibly infinite space, that there's not a single alien out there? Like, it's just insane.
Yeah, anyone that doesn't believe in aliens is either like has like an inflated sense of what the human race is, essentially.
Yeah. And this kind of piggybacks off of that. What mythological creature do you wish actually existed?
Uh,
I don't like a lot of like the. I mean, I'm really into cryptozoology, so I like the stories and stuff. But Bigfoot's dumb, and the Jersey Devil is just like ridiculous. So the only one that stands out to me is the Loch Ness Monster. That would be pretty sweet.
But then he keeps asking us for the freaking 350.
Yeah, that tree fitty, man. I mean, if that's gonna happen, then maybe I don't want it to exist. But
and
how cool would it be, like, if that actually happened, though? Like, if somebody at that whole area where everybody's, you know, selling like merchandise and stuff because it's the area. If one day it's just kind of like you look out and it's like, oh fuck, there's this like plesiosaur, you know.
I'll tell you what mythical creature I wish existed: the female orgasm.
I tell you, I get no respect. For a Rodney Dangerfield moment.
I get no respect.
Mythological creature I wish existed. Santa Claus.
Oh, I'd be freaked out as all hell.
That's a really good one, though.
Apologies to Frankie for spoiling that for him.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, did I just answer his question with that?
Almost made me spit out my water. How freaky would it be, though, if, like, I mean, I just said a minute ago that Santa Claus would freak me out. Easter Bunny would be even worse.
Dude, have you seen some of like the older Easter Bunny costumes from like the 50s and before?
Horrifying.
Terrifying. Yeah.
Jesus, those things are like straight out of fucking Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
No wonder these kids used to bawl their eyes out. The teeth are like jagged and the eyes look like they're murderous, and it's like, ha, kids, I'm gonna fucking eat you.
Like it's Tim Burton designed the costumes or something.
Yeah. Tim Burton designed it and Tim Curry's inside of it. Some mythical creatures are just really so dumb, though. Like, when people are like, something's happening to my my crops, and I saw this like half goat, half horse with wings of a bat and whatever, and you're like, nah, you just don't know how to farm.
Unicorns are pretty freaking sweet, though.
Santa Claus would be awesome.
Unicorns?
Yeah, unicorns would be pretty badass.
I mean, they'd basically just be like a horse narwhal. Like,
yeah, what's not cool about that?
I'd be cool with it. Like, it's fine.
Especially if they have wings. I guess that would be a Pegasus.
Yeah, it'd be Pegasus more than anything. But imagine if you're like looking through the sky and you're like, oh, there's like a hawk. Oh, there's an airplane. Yeah, there's a Pegasus. So, like,
No, it's just a Pegasus.
Yeah. Just happens to have a guy on it holding a sword, because you pretty much should have a sword if you're riding a Pegasus.
So where do we stand on mermaids?
Nah.
They're real.
I wouldn't stand on them. They're like really far underwater, so.
You say you don't know we don't know what's in the freaking oceans, man. I believe in mermaids for sure.
But if we had to pick, top half fish, bottom half human, or top half human, bottom half fish?
It's well known. It's top half human, bottom half fish.
Yeah. Top half fish. That would just freak me out.
Yeah, top half human.
I mean, not that the other end wouldn't freak me out too.
No, I think the one that would really freak me out if it was like left hand human, right hand fish.
What if it was split down the center like Two-Face?
Yeah,
that's exactly what I just said.
That'd be fucking.
I thought you just meant hands.
No,
like they just had one fish
left
hand.
Side, right side.
What's the rest of it? A bear? A bear with a fish hand and a human.
Well, now are you splitting it down the center like direct vertical, or are you doing like a diagonal?
Well, I was saying direct on the middle.
Direct vertical, because
I guess it probably wouldn't be a perfect line except for like the prettiest one.
The prettiest. It's like in this culture, it's like, look at how symmetrical they are.
Yeah, exactly. Her divide line is perfect. It's so dreamy.
I really don't think The Little Mermaid would have been as popular if that was the.
Kiss the girl, only the left. What movie quotes do you use on a regular basis? The sad part is so many of them to the point where I don't even recognize that they're movie quotes anymore.
All right.
Super Troopers has a lot, I think, that I'm put a lot like that, but I think back on it, it definitely is. Like Right Meow and there's probably other ones there I can't think of right now.
Right now.
Shenanigans.
Well, that's the thing too, is if you go with like the more mundane things, then I mean there's almost like an infinite amount. Like you could even say Star Wars. I've got a bad feeling about this. You know,
you are freaking out, man. Whenever someone says I'm freaking out, man, that's the response you got to give every time.
It's a trap. I think I used that one.
That's a good one.
Way too much.
How many times do you get the chance to use that phrase?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And if I was caught in that situation, I can't remember the name of the movie it's from, but there was these little aliens, and they're like, "It's a booby trap, and where are the boobies?"
Was it like Earth Girls from Mars or something?
I think it's actually called like Space Invaders or something. I'll Google it really quick. Hold on.
Where are the boobies? That's what it is.
Well,
a quote that I don't use too often to be able to say that I use it on a regular basis, but I do like pulling it out once in a while, is from Stranger Than Fiction, which is, a tree doesn't think it's a tree, it is a tree. I always like that one.
I think I've used the Jerry Maguire "show me the money" phrase a few times, just while going out and stuff like that. If somebody's going to pay for something.
Yeah, like you can't handle the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. You complete me. That kind of thing.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
It's quite simple. We kill the Batman every day. It's just... What is the funniest actual name you've heard of someone having? All right. I didn't type out this name on the page itself because I figured if that person ever Googles it, they will always come across them, and they'd feel bad about themselves. But I'll say it on here because you can't just Google your name and then a podcast pops up. Xevious Hightower.
What?
Yeah.
That sounds like an evil lair.
It sounds like some Lord of the Rings shit, and that's somebody's name out there. Xevious Hightower.
Meanwhile, back at the Xevious Hightower.
Xevious starts with an X.
I was going to say that's probably something like, I couldn't come up with a Dungeons and Dragons character that was as inventive as that name.
There was a video game called Xevious. I think it was like a shooter game, like a space shooter game.
That might be the inspiration for it. I don't know. I don't know the people, but I just had seen that on a thing before.
The funniest name I've ever heard is a baby was born, I believe this was in New York, with the name Tallulah Does the Hula in Hawaii. And sure enough, a judge stepped in and was like, no.
Thank God.
You can't do that to the child.
Like, what was it? Was like Tallulah the first name, and then Hawaii the last name, and then the rest of it was just...
No, that was their first name. Tallulah Does the Hula in Hawaii. Whatever.
Jones.
Smith or Jones.
Penn Jillette has a daughter named Moxie Crime Fighter.
That's a pretty badass name.
Yeah,
That's
I like that one.
fucking cool.
Moxie Crime Fighter Gillette.
I think Caitlin's a pretty funny name for a boy to have.
God damn it.
Should we do one of the other obvious jokes here? Kaylin?
Oh, that's what I was making the joke about.
Like, otherwise known as Brian. Anybody else have any other ones?
I didn't know this person personally, but apparently my mum used to go to school with someone who actually had the legitimate name Richard Head. So it's like,
I don't know whether to shake those parents' hands or slap them in the face for it.
I I remember there was a guy I went to high school, sorry, it was elementary school with, named Michael Jackson. And like every time he got like called to the office or something like that, everyone would crack up.
It's like the Michael Bolton thing.
Yeah,
Michael
exactly.
Jackson? Are you related? What TV character would be the most fun to change places with for a week? Lucifer. From Lucifer. That's my pick. He's immortal. He constantly just has fun. He's rich. I like that.
I'd have to go with Homer Simpson, because in a week you could get through like 20 jobs. So it's never boring.
I don't know, most of the shows I watch are like Game of Thrones and South Park, where just terrible things happen to people all the time. I don't want to be a part of any of those shows.
Well, you'd like to be a South Park character, like.
No, South Park looks like a terrible place to live.
You got to deal with like Mecha Streisand and shit. Cthulhu. Even if you're like one of the side characters, like Clyde, your life still sucks every once in a while.
The only one who seems to be having a good time most of the time is Randy.
He does seem to. When he's stressed out, it still ends with him just kind of being like, "Oh, fuck this."
Yeah, exactly.
I guess if you want to look at it from like a self-referential perspective, maybe Butters, because he's like he bounces back, you know.
Yeah, but he gets in trouble for like sneezing the wrong way.
He does, but at the same time, it's like life is still okay. Like that dude's got a good outlook. Everyone knows it's Butters.
That's me.
He's got some apples, you know. Lulu.
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking. First character popped in my head was Barney Stinson, but
yeah, that's a good one.
Then I'm thinking it'd be fun to be a cartoon, like.
Don't feel bad for him; he's already dead.
Like be Rolf from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Yeah.
Never seen it.
Really?
Really go with Rolf? Could be Plank.
Rolf from the Muppets.
Oh my God! You could be Plank. You could spend your whole life as a piece of wood.
These are great answers.
I have no idea what any of this means.
They can't all be Caitlyn.
Let's see here. What is something that was cool to you when you were younger, but not now?
Wrestling.
Jeez.
Easy answer. Next.
I used to like rocks when I was a kid. It'd be like, look at this cool shaped rock. I don't give a shit anymore. I used to appreciate the finer things like that.
The finer things, like the shape of rocks.
Yeah, you know, just kind of walk around and just be like, look at this. Life is amazing. You know, I'm like, everything sucks.
I used to think cricket was cool. I was really like, I watched too much of it due to a dad who's fanatical about it, so grew out of that quickly, fortunately enough.
Thing is, I'm more shocked about you liking cricket than Tony liking rocks.
Like action figures and I guess just.
You mean you're not still buying action figures in your 20s?
I actually stopped really early. I haven't bought an action figure since I was 8.
Do you remember which one it was?
I do actually. It was my birthday, and there's a few of them, but American Badass Undertaker was up there, and I got like a Lance Storm set that for whatever reason came with a ladder, even though Lance Storm's never done a ladder match.
If magic was real, what spell would you like to use first on? I'm assuming this is like the actual like magic-y type of stuff where people are like, here's a spell for that. I don't know any of that kind of shit. So I just kind of went with a superpower, basically. I want to be immortal and be able to heal other people.
I want to control time.
Abracadabra. Oh shit, I just killed somebody.
It's really weird in the Harry Potter universe that Avada Kedavra sounds so close to abracadabra. Like you could just
it really just takes all the like levity out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like there's supposed to be this horror, like Crucio. That sounds evil, and like what's the other one? Imperio. Like that sounds like spells
Expecto Patronum. Like,
and then it's just like Abracadabra. That's the one that kills them.
Right. It should be some kind of like Extermioso or some full, you know, and it's like Abracadabra, Alakazam.
Gonna reach out and grab you.
Hypno. Any other magical spells people can think of that they'd like? Some kind of like, I want the spell to eat anything and not gain any weight, or you know, whatever.
I'm pretty good.
I want the spell to create a deer in the fucking middle of the woods.
Why? For Patton to hit it again?
Do you eat or drink food that it's past the expiration date, even if it smells fine? No.
I mean, it depends on how far past the expiration you're talking about here.
Yeah.
And it depends on what food it is, too. I mean, you got to use your better judgment on that. I mean, a lot of stuff is priced with the expiration date as a sell date, and it's still good past it. But, I mean, if it's something like white bread, I mean, look for mold. That's like, you know, use your freaking brains. Like,
No, that you don't even need to check the expiration date for something like that. You can tell that it's good or whatever. But, like, milk, for instance, if it's past the expiration date, I tend not to risk it. That's the expiration date, though. Like, if it's sell-by date, you got a little bit of leeway.
You're good.
That's a quick one, though. I don't think we really need to dive into that one. What was the last sound you sung to? I'm assuming last song.
The sound of silence.
I'm singing that right now. Listen.
Next question.
Did you hear that one note that I hit?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
I
sung to you. I think it was maybe
next
Wired
question
by Taking Back Sunday.
I'm fine. I don't
remember for sure, but it might have been the cover of "Stand by Me" by Bootstraps. I think that might have been it, or "The Bravest" by Sir Roosevelt. That was a good song. Are you comfortable speaking in front of a large amount of people? Yep, no problem.
Nope.
Podcast, high school plays, you know, it's just whatever.
Yeah, I've never been comfortable in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
I was in a band, so take a guess.
So I'm
50-50 split. It's one of those things. A lot of people are terrified of it, and other people are like, it is what it is. And the only times I've ever been nervous to talk in front of people have been when I had absolutely no idea what I was doing or something like that. And even then, sometimes it's just sort of like, I'll just bullshit and figure it out.
So weird. I have no problem going onto a stage with hundreds of people watching me, but I can't make a fucking phone call to save my life.
Yeah, that I do the same kind of a thing. Like, I would rather not call and order food if I can avoid it. But you tell me to go up and do a speech that's supposed to be 5 minutes, I'll give you 50. Like, it's so weird. Anybody else do that whole thing where it's like, well, I don't want to call an order? Like,
I hate using a phone in general.
Grubhub has been the best thing to ever come to this area. So
yeah, it's nice to not have to be like, and just not even sure.
I like to place an order for delivery. Here's my address. Here's my phone number. Whatever. Are you a procrastinator?
We can answer that later.
Yeah. Obvious joke is obvious.
Yeah. Nah.
No, you're actually quite active with this sort of stuff. You get on with things.
If I don't want to do it, I'll procrastinate. If I am, if it's a big deal, then you got to do it. What do you make yourself fall asleep to? Or what do you do to make yourself fall asleep? That's funny.
Wank.
Me sleep. I'll tell you when I figure out how to fucking go to sleep.
Yeah, this is not a question for Tony.
I took a 3 Benadryl to go to sleep earlier, and it took me 6 hours after taking the 3 Benadryl to fall asleep. So
getting immunity too.
Yeah. I mean, I should mix Benadryl and melatonin and, I don't know.
Vodka.
Something, yeah. I got to figure that out. I really need to get on this sleep stuff. It's been over 10 years of me having very little sleep, and that's not good.
I know this goes stupid in terms of like my habits of going to sleep and stuff like that, but I've started to watch a lot of ASMR videos.
Yeah, there's a lot
It's
of
kind of
great,
relaxing sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of ASMR content made specifically for going to sleep. That's pretty good.
Mm.
I just need noise, and I usually use podcasts. Are usually the best thing for me because it also gives me actual content for my mind to concentrate on. Because a lot of my problem is if I'm there in silence, my mind's just all over the fucking place because my body's not doing anything. So my mind's got to race to make up for it. But if there's like a podcast I have on, my brain concentrates a little bit better. Yeah.
I do the same because, if you're laying down in bed and you're sitting there going, well, what would I do if somebody gave me $100,000, but I had to spend it in 2 hours? Like, then you're like, well, I probably would ever. And then after you start thinking about that, you're like, can I just fucking go to sleep?
That's always your example. So have you done that before?
Thought about like the money things all the time. I've got like my brain's figured out. Like, you give me $1 billion, I know exactly what I would do with it. You give me 100 million, I know exactly how I would split that up. Yeah. But even stupider things too. It would just be like, all right, well, what's the first word I would say to a therapist if I ever talked to that? I'd be like, I don't know, fucking pineapple. Or like, if I could drive any kind of a car and it was on, which side of the road would it be on and what country and how much money would it be? I just think of like the stupidest crap. It's just...
I would tend to do that sort of stuff until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then after that, the thoughts just completely replace in, oh my god, I've got to be up in 4 hours and stuff like that, and then you just that's the thing that keeps you awake after that point.
Yeah,
podcasts are really good though for like kind of keeping your brain a little bit busy. The same thing too for like Let's Plays. If it's not some like loud like, oh my god, I can't believe I would ever. If it's just somebody like playing a game and that's kind of good.
I'll tell you what's not good for helping you go to sleep: the MTV channel.
Oh god! If anybody doesn't know the context for that, real quick, it was near Comic-Con, and so there's 6 of us in the room, or 5 of us in the room.
I mean,
whatever it was.
We were like 2 to a bed, and then we had people on the floor too, so we had a lot of people.
It was 6 of us. That's what it was. Yeah, and so we had put on just the TV just for the hell of it. And everybody kind of like 1-to-1 started to kind of go to sleep. And Trumpets by Jason Derulo, I think, right?
Sure.
I think that's what it is. That starts playing in the background. And I'm sitting there going, this is fucking annoying. And I really want to shut this off. But if I were to go get the remote, I'd have to get out of bed. I'd have to walk past Dace on the floor and like, whatever, fine. I'll just stick it out. And I'm pretty sure it was you, Peyton, that had been like, anybody else listen to that goddamn trumpet song over and over again last night? And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, you were awake too? And then there was like, one by one, everybody's like, oh my god, I was awake listening to that. So there's 6 people in there struggling to fall asleep listening to for what felt like a good 40 minutes. And I don't know if it was just the matter of the song just felt like it went on forever, or if they did like a repeat of it or something, but it felt like it went on for a long ass time. And yeah, that ruined Trumpets for me, I guess.
It's funny, we're all worried about not interrupting like each other, but like we're all just laying there being miserable.
We're all in agony. If one of us would have gotten up and been like, fuck this, and just shut it off, everybody would have been like, oh, thank God. Oh, you're awake too? Like,
just say to everyone listening, if you're using this podcast to fall asleep to, just let us know in the comments what time you fell asleep at.
Yeah, put the time code in the comments, damn it.
I'm guessing by Frankie's 5th question.
What's your back in my day? We kind of answered that. The other one, technology type stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else?
It's like literally the same topic. We already talked about how we're old.
Yeah. Have you ever been pulled over by a cop? A couple times, and only once was it a scenario where I think that the cop made the right decision by pulling me over, and I wasn't driving. I was a little kid. I was like I don't know, 11 or something like that, and a friend of mine and I were playing with a bunch of cap guns outside, and the cop pulled off on the side, and he was like, "Hey, you can't do this around the main street. People are thinking that you've got like paintball guns or something like that, and that you're shooting it at the cars." And I was like, "Oh, okay, like that makes sense." But I got pulled over by a cop one time that was mad at me for not letting him go through a red light without his lights on because he just didn't want to wait for the red light. And I had the green light, and I went. And he pulled me over and was like, "Why didn't you let me go?" And I'm like, "Because I had the green light, and you didn't have your lights on or anything. How was I supposed to know that you wanted to go through the red light?" And he was like, "You just be fucking careful then." And I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell?" Got pulled over and a ticket for making a right-hand turn on a red light when I had stopped fully, but it was 2 a.m. and it was the end of the month, so it was a quota type thing. Got pulled over one time. I don't know if you could constitute pulled over, but walked out of a movie theater and a cop pulled up to the side and said that my friend and I were clearly up to something. And he didn't know that we had planned on just taking a piss on the side of the building right around that time. But he was like, yeah, you're doing something. Are you guys smoking weed out here? And we're like, no. And then he's like, did you guys, vandalize anything? And we're like, do you see any vandalism around here or whatever? And then one of my favorite things that my friend has ever done, the guy goes, I bet you're trying to sneak into that movie, right? And I was planning on just being like, here's our ticket stubs. But my friend looks over to the side and he goes, there's no handles on that door. And the cop just goes, do you guys have any IDs? And we're like 10. No, dude. Yeah, fuck some cops, man.
Not all, but some.
Not all, but some of them, yeah. What are your best pulled over stories?
I was in the passenger seat yesterday, and it was a quota, but got pulled over for speeding, and weren't even speeding. It was just, I looked at the calendar, I was like, yeah, fuck. He had to get somebody for something, and you just happened to be the one they chose.
You were definitely speeding. You probably just weren't speeding that much. Because they can't pull you over if you're not speeding. Or they have some other reason to.
You were going 26 and a 25.
That's legally a reason they can pull you over for.
Yeah. It's a douche thing to do, but it's like, that's technically the law.
What about you, Callum?
I can't drive, so never been pulled over.
Well, neither do I, but...
Oh no, I've never been in a car that's been pulled over either, so...
Peyton, you got any good ones?
Not really. I mean, I've been driving for like 18 years, so I mean, of course I've been pulled over by a cop, but I mean, just regular speeding infractions, most of them I either talked myself out of or talked myself down in court, like nothing really too much to go into.
Just, hey, you're speeding, well, I'll give you a ticket for having something on your rearview mirror, like that kind of things.
Yeah. So somehow a speeding violation ends up parking on pavement, however the hell that works. Fucking
have you ever,
system.
Lied your way out of a ticket?
Of course not. I'm under oath.
Did you ever flash your chest to get out of a ticket?
Nah.
You never know.
I mean, you're a decent looking man. You could do it.
Did you ever pretend to be sick in order to not go to school? Everybody's kind of done that, right?
Yeah.
No, not me.
Yeah,
I actually had perfect attendance 2 years in elementary school.
I had it my last 2 years, junior and senior year of high school.
Then by the time I was in like junior high and high school, if I didn't want to go, I just didn't go. I didn't need to like pretend to be sick. I was like, yeah, I'm taking a personal day.
Yeah, I had pretty much like perfect attendance through most of my school. It's just when I started getting into work, that was when I started taking a few days.
Have you ever been in a car accident? That's kind of like the other one. 2 of them, but I wasn't driving in either of them. And what was funny, both of them, the person who was driving said, that person's going to hit me. And then it was like, bam! It's just like, that's going to happen.
Yep, never.
We know that Peyton has.
Yeah, heard about that stuff. Nah. I can't recall anything like that. Maybe I've been like, we were probably rear-ended at one point when I was a kid, but other than that, nothing else.
Do you trust anybody with your life?
Do you guys?
My
Don't even
mom.
trust myself.
That's about it.
Probably my mother. And yeah.
Yeah, parents and my brother, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, I trust my mom and my girlfriend, and there's a couple of other people that are really close friends of mine that I might.
Tony, I'm going to drop some reality on you here. If your girlfriend had to choose between you and her dog, who do you think she's picking?
Oh my god.
Oh, she's picking Bonnie. Yeah, she's picking Bonnie. But I've long accepted that. A couple of friends of mine, though, it depends on your idea of do you trust with your life kind of a thing. It's sort of like, are we giving them the permission to pull the plug, or is it like, hey, I'm going through some stuff and I need you to be there for me. Like, it's sort of one of those kind of things. I'm not too sure, but two people essentially, which is good. If you could be any age for a week, what age would that be? I was kind of a little bit confused about this question. Do you have to revert back to the time frame? Do you get to be that age but keep your wisdom?
Too many variables for this question.
Yeah. Way too many variables.
I was kind of hoping that somebody would be like, oh, he clearly means this or whatever. So, I don't know, Frankie. 17. Let's go with that. Would you be willing to eat a bowl of crickets for $40,000? Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Not even a second of thought. Like,
no. I'd throw my fucking guts up, I'm sure, but $40,000? Give me the goddamn crickets.
Would it matter if the crickets were alive?
I'm assuming that there's no parameters and you can cook them. And yeah, if you got, like, some people eat crickets just because they like them. It's a delicacy somewhere.
Yeah, people eat insects like all the time. It's like a substitute thing for the fact that there's less meat in the world or anything like that. So you've got people using insects to fulfill that quota. So,
especially if you could like add stuff to it. Like if you could add like, chocolate or something like that, then I'm going to eat that fucking bowl. And how big is the bowl too? Is it like,
God. If they gave you like a fondue fountain, dude, just like dip the crickets under there as you're eating it, man, it's like the easiest $40,000 ever. Like,
yeah.
I'm also wondering, just as a question to Frankie, why he went for $40,000. Why is that? What is that?
That is kind of strange. Instead of 100,000 or even 50 grand or something like that. So piggybacking off of this a little bit, what's the smallest amount of money that you would go and eat a bowl of crickets for?
How big of a bowl are we talking about?
I'm gonna go with like a standard
cereal bowl, something like that.
Like a cereal bowl, yeah.
Honestly, I'd probably do it for like $1,000.
That's what I was thinking. I was
going to go less. I was going to go with like £100.
Yeah.
I was thinking like if somebody gave me $500, I'd be like, okay, because you just take a handful of it and you're already halfway done.
I do it for 100, and I don't even think.
I think 100 is pushing it.
Would anybody do it for $40? About $4. How about that?
Oh no, not for $4.
Do you like corn dogs? Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah, they're alright.
I don't like them like all the time, but like I enjoy one once in a while.
That's like maybe a once a year type thing. Corn dogs are good though. Underrated.
Coney Island? Kind of corn dog?
Never had a Corny Island, I almost said. Coney Island one. But yeah, corn dogs are good. Do you use the 5-second rule?
Yeah.
No.
Depends on like what it is and what it's on. Again, it's one of those things where, if you drop like a chip on the table, I'm not gonna like worry about it. But if I drop like a meatball on the carpet, then that's gonna be like a whole other fucking situation.
Yeah, if I've got like an ice cream cone and I drop it on the pavement, I'm not just gonna lick it up or something like that.
I was assuming it definitely meant floor. If it's like the table, it's a different story.
Carpet,
again, like how
floor,
porous it is, like again, like a chip. Like even if I drop it on like the carpet, I'm not gonna worry about a chip on the carpet. I'll probably grab it and munch it.
Yeah, but you can't like be like, oh, I spilled my soup. I'm gonna start slurping that out of the fucking rug. 5 seconds, like that kind of thing. We mentioned this earlier. Do you like sandwiches? If so, which condiments? I don't like any kind of condiments. Mustard, mayo, vinegar, ketchup, whatever. So you give me a sandwich. It depends on what it is. Most sandwiches, some kind of like lettuce, cheese, or like if it's lunch meat, like potato chips, Doritos, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all sandwiches are variable based on what you would put on it with what your main ingredient is. I mean, that's how you build a sandwich. That's a combination specific things together to make that taste you want. So the stuff you're going to put on a turkey sandwich is not going to be the same stuff you put on like a panini.
Yeah, you get a meatball sandwich, you're going to put Parmesan on it. You're not going to put Parmesan on a ham sandwich, necessarily. Although I would try it, why not?
Usually any sandwich I have has ham as the requisite component of it. Then anything else I can just put on top of that. As long as it has ham, I'm probably most likely to eat it. So.
Well, we know that Robert likes sandwiches instead.
All right, okay, listen. I do love them. I love eating them. Tony counted vinegar as a condiment, so I guess yeah.
Yeah, oil and vinegar is a great combo in like an Italian sub.
Like hoagies and stuff.
That would be my go-to. That would be my absolute go-to. Italian sub, oil and vinegar. And there you go.
Fresh mozzarella. Oh, that's one of my favorite sandwiches.
Yes.
And our final question, this is going to be a wrestling one, so it's a good one to end off on this one. And it's a very important one, too. Frankie asks us, what do we think about Daniel Bryan's return to in-ring competition? And, like, kind of what were you looking forward to seeing him do in the future? I'm assuming we're all at least just like, yay, right?
I think we're more like yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. You know, sometimes maybe some no's.
I know a couple.
I'm very hesitant to trust that this is going to last. And I'm kind of managing my expectations a little bit where maybe this is lucky enough where he can wrestle for a bunch of years, or what if it's one of those scenarios where 2 months down the line he gets an injury and it's being bad? Like, I'm not trying to get too high of an expectation out of it. But at the same time, Daniel Bryan versus so many people. We mentioned The Miz, Bryan versus AJ Styles, Bryan versus Rollins, Bryan versus even like Chad Gable or Apollo. He could have some great fucking matches ahead of him.
Apollo. Oh, you've been reprogrammed so quickly.
The way
I've had to type it out enough.
The way I kind of view the Daniel Bryan injury situation is that WWE was under no real obligation to put him back in the ring if they felt there was any real risk of him getting injured again, because they know how much they would have been, not so much liable for it, but how much it would have sucked if he was to suffer another injury. So they would have had to have been really convinced that it's not going to happen again to even let him take any sort of like physical activity, let alone get back in the ring. So I'm confident. I feel confident that this run will last as long as Bryan's happy for it to run.
How long do you think they knew?
I think it's recent. I think it's pretty recent that they decided to go ahead with that. Like I say, like Bryan's been going through years of tests, and he's obviously been working on stuff in hyperbaric chambers and stuff along those lines. And as far as I know, he's one of the only wrestlers or of any athletes to really come back from being ruled out of competition due to concussions to be able to say, okay, now I'm healthy enough to actually do that. And according to what a lot of his doctors have been saying, he's actually got a higher brain function than a lot of people that have never suffered concussions before in their life. So he does have a lot of things going for him to make it suggest that it will go well and he will be able to resume his career in almost like a Shawn Michaels way, where it's like a second coming. But obviously you never know.
It's very funny considering that was like his main mentor.
Yeah. Their career parallels are pretty interesting.
But obviously you can never predict the future, and any match can be your last, as they like to say in these instances. But I'm looking forward to. I wouldn't say it's a lock that Styles and Nakamura are his two matches for like WrestleMania and SummerSlam, just because even though those two would be big matches, I think the Nakamura match in particular, because that's definitely one that's never happened before, is they'll definitely be used throughout the year. But I could see Bryan challenging for a world title by WrestleMania 35. So
I'm thinking SummerSlam.
I'm saying he could be, but I think if he's the next time he wins the championship, I think it'll be WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah. Winning, yeah, WrestleMania.
You want to save it for like the big moment like that, and I think it could be like Styles is a possibility, but I think it also could be Rollins, just due to the fact of which show they end up being on.
I'm just looking forward to that match with The Miz, because they were building that pretty hard when he was on SmackDown, and I'm glad that they're going to be able to do it. Obviously, it's just nice that, you know, he has that peace of mind that he can wrestle again, and I'm glad WWE got behind him. I wonder if they're going to keep him a special attraction, or if it's going to be a thing where they're like, hey, we need more main event guys. Brian, go be full-time again. I hope it's the latter, because
if he's cleared, he's going to go full-time. He's not going to do a part-time schedule.
Well, I'm thinking it's a mix, actually.
Yeah, I think he's going to go more along the Randy Orton type route of...
Yeah, I can't imagine him doing live events that often.
Yeah, I think he'll be like a limited dates thing. Like I've heard like things batted around like saying like somewhere between 60 and 100 dates, whereas most wrestlers are on about 200 or something like that. So
I'm imagining every pay-per-view he's going to be a potential highlight, and that he'll wrestle on Raw or SmackDown here and there, not necessarily every week, and barely any live events outside of that.
Maybe to start with, but I think if they keep going, kind of like exactly the example with Sean, if they keep going and they're like, okay, you're healthy, I think you might very well be full-time.
Well, this is something that just came out today, because apparently Monday night is when they signed off all the papers and stuff. So Tuesday was like, all right, this is a brand new thing from what it was 2 days ago, that kind of a thing. But there are reports going around now that part of the agreement that they have going on, and of course, take this with a grain of salt, it might not be true, is that after every match, he's going to undergo an impact testing. If that's the case, and they go through and it's like, I don't know, 5 months worth of him wrestling, doing an impact test, and coming out okay, then they're probably going to be like, all right, you know what? Like, we don't have to worry about this anymore. Although there's still going to at least be partially a whole, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this kind of a thing, but
I think he's going to completely change his wrestling style.
Yeah, I
he
think
has to.
I think he might become more of like a striker.
I think he always talked about the fact that he wanted to change his style when he was going to be fighting someone like Brock Lesnar almost. Like, he wanted to be a bit more almost ground-based, really, as opposed to like the high-impact stuff that he does, that he's known for doing.
Speaking of that, though, I do not want to see Bryan versus Lesnar.
No, I think the moment's passed for that, really.
Not only for just like the storyline purposes, and he's so much smaller than him, but Lesnar throws people around.
Yeah, Lesnar would fucking ragdoll him and not care. So
I trust that Lesnar wouldn't, like, you know, maliciously fuck him up or something like that, but just the style of his matches, I don't want to risk that. I don't think it would be worth it.
How long do you think it's going to be before Bryan's in the ring with Sheamus again?
I hope never, honestly.
Tomorrow.
Well, Sheamus, he actually probably doesn't have too much time left in his career.
I think he'll be better off than what I was originally imagining a couple months ago. Because the more that gets let out about that, the more it is that it's basically like his level of injury right now is what Edge's was years before he had to retire. So I think that they know a little bit better now, and with him being a part of a tag team, that helps out a lot too. I would be more inclined to give Sheamus a little bit of like a break to kind of keep him on the mix a little bit more. But and we'll see about that. I don't think he's going to be around for 10 years or anything like that, by no means.
The real
I could see Sheamus being around for another 5, though.
Do you see Vince trying to book Bryan and Sheamus for WrestleMania again?
No.
He fucking better not.
Yeah. And just all these like impact testing and all the testing that Bryan's had to go through to get to this point where he's now able to wrestle again. He must be like the guy who's had the most concussion tests in maybe history almost. Like, because most people, if they get the rules that like, okay, due to concussions you can't either wrestle or compete in any sort of like sport again, they probably would just usually accept that side of things and just go on.
Maybe do a second opinion.
Yeah.
You know what? If that is the case, though, then good.
Yeah, Bryan's going to be like almost a pioneer for this, because if he's come back from this and he's actually pretty much fully recovered, where he suffers no further repercussions due to it, then his treatment is going to be something that's going to be applied to others going forward. And it could help prolong a lot of people's careers in like high-impact sports like football and boxing and other things like that.
And comparisons, too, because there was a report out earlier today that said he had over 20 concussions.
Wow.
And if some people can get one concussion and that's it, and he can potentially come back and be perfectly fine from over 20 of them, then that's a good indicator, too, of being able to do the studies and be like, all right, well, what was the difference between the ones that he had and the ones that the other one had? You know, is this person more susceptible to brain damage based off of that because they have this, you know, extra layer of protection over their, you know, skull or like, you know, like different things like that? Like, I would be really shocked if Daniel Bryan didn't sign off some kind of a thing that said that he could donate his body to science after he passes away. That'd be very interesting in the future.
No, and Daniel Bryan, he probably has his body going to like fertilize some freaking garden or something.
I wonder
My body
if
will
they
turn into mushrooms.
upped the concussion testing because they were getting ready for the XFL. You know, and that's a big thing in football. And I wonder if they were looking into new methods and they were like, hey, let's try to apply this to Bryan.
No, this concussion thing has been going on for years now. It's not just a recently thing for XFL.
Well,
Yeah,
but
didn't
I'm
you see the
saying
Will Smith movie?
for the company, though.
Tell the truth. It's all Benoit that started it.
Well, yes. Absolutely.
Well, it didn't really start it, but you know what I mean. That kicked it into a next gear.
Yeah. But like,
yeah, Daniel Bryan, his future is totally in question, but how amazing is it that we had this happen this week? Like, we get so many bad stories all the time. It's always like Sonny goes to rehab again, and you know,
or this one has to retire, or
yeah, somebody has to retire. Somebody got caught with like doing a DUI, or you know, the one recently, the guy who's like a pedophile or whatever, and like, you know, then we get like not only just the idea of like, hey, somebody that is injured is coming back. Like, it's one thing if it's like, oh, Drew McIntyre is back. It's another thing to be like Daniel Bryan, this incredibly popular, totally beloved person who most people had written off as, well, he's never going to wrestle again. He gets to do what he loves to do, and people love watching him for it. So this is a great fucking week, as far as that's concerned.
And not only that, he gets to do it on the biggest stage where he belongs. Because I thought the worst thing that was going to happen was if because, you know, supposedly all the other doctors cleared him and just not the WWE doctors, and he was going to wait for his contract to run out and then go wrestle wherever the frick. And like, I think that would be the dumbest thing can happen.
I really was not looking forward to seeing him pop up on like Aro Lucha fighting somebody, or Ring of Honor, or even New Japan, you know? Like, I didn't want to see him wrestling elsewhere and where they didn't have the ability to take care of him if that were the case and stuff. He deserves to be coming back at WrestleMania.
It's great that he's wrestling WWE. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have been okay with him going back to the independent circuit just due to the different matchups that were presented to him.
You know who I bet is really upset about this now? It's freaking Cody and the Bucks.
Yeah.
They probably would have loved to have had him on their show.
Yeah, that would have.
You know what? What they were probably thinking, they were like, we keep hearing about all this impact testing. We can't wait to do the whole. Wait a minute, Bryan Danielson is in the impact zone.
Well, I think that was part of it too. I'm sure that Bree went to somebody and was like, Bryan is going to do this. I'd rather him do it where he's protected rather than he just goes and does a suicide dive in a bingo hall because he needs to be a wrestler too.
Oh, I really hope he doesn't do those anymore. So many people need to stop doing those. Sasha Banks needs to stop doing them.
Yeah.
I think like above all else, Daniel Bryan probably knows his limitations now. He wants to do this for as long as he possibly can going forward. So he'll do everything in his power to reduce any risk.
We got to question what kind of shape he's in at this point too. Like, I'm sure he's still been working out and he's still got great cardio and all, but like, can he even still do like those crazy moves like he was doing?
Well, he was hitting those. I mean, yes, it's just a running corner drop kick, but he was pretty intense with those on Tuesday.
I think people give him a little bit of leeway, at least starting off.
Like, nobody's
Yeah.
expecting a flying headbutt. Please, for the love of God, don't do a flying headbutt.
Well, people were already flipping out. They were like, "Oh my god, his first night back, and he's getting power bombed on the apron and all that." It's like,
But he didn't
That's
have
'cause
back
that's
or
what he
neck
wants to do.
problems.
Yeah,
Like,
and he's working
those-
with one of the safest workers, and like Kevin Owens, stuff like that. Who's done that?
Yeah, and
thousands
you know
of
they're gonna
times.
take care of him. It's like, Michael's
Yeah.
wrestling Hunter. Hunter isn't gonna hurt him.
He has like
yeah, it's when you step in the ring with the people that don't necessarily know what they're doing. That'll be the issue. And
I mean,
I don't think he's going to be in the ring with any of those people.
nah. And I was already looking forward to this year's WrestleMania because it has been building up really nicely. But that's just really just made this a must-see show if there ever was one, really.
So, just to add another question to this for the very, very last thing to ask, I'm just curious, if you have to pick somebody from NXT or somebody who could be brought from the outside in, that's like on like the newer, like next generation type, who do you want to see Daniel Bryan teach by being in the ring with?
Well,
The first thing I thought of was Velveteen Dream.
yeah,
I think that they will have a great match if they ever have one.
but if Brian actually slows down, I'd like to see him, work with Ricochet and teach him how to slow the fuck down.
If it's someone kind of on the outside that could come in, I'd say someone like a Will Ospreay would probably benefit from somebody who is a similar size. We'll just say he's somebody who is a similar size, but Ospreay's more like flashy with his moves, and Bryan's better in the storytelling side of things. So having some sort of connection with that would be good. But if it's someone who's in NXT, I think he has a lot of parallels to Johnny Gargano. So it could really like help him fulfill his potential as like a underdog babyface.
Maybe he could help Roderick Strong find more of a personality.
Someone I could see him having just great chemistry with and having an amazing series of matches is Andrade Cien Almas.
I
I
really
could
like
see them
that.
actually playing a lot to Almas's strengths with the international training that he has. Because it's tough for, like, Almas keeps having great matches, but it's got to be with the right people. And I think Bryan would be one of those people that they really would nail it. I think it would be almost those like those late '90s WCW matches you got where you got the international flair to it that really made things more interesting.
Well, so you could have Selena Vega on the outside and Brie Bella on the other side. Kind of do something.
Oh
like that.
man, two fiery ladies like that pulling each other's hair. Frick yeah.
Yeah.
He could also someone like a Pete Dunne who's so young as well that it already has so much potential
Yeah, Pete Dunne's another good choice.
to get some sort of
Tyler
training.
Bate.
William Regal wouldn't know who he wants to root for. He's just
He's like, oh crap, the guy in the maroon and the guy in the maroon. Well, those are the mailbag questions you guys submitted for March. Thank you guys for sending them in. Of course, as always, make sure if you have not left your comments below to tell us some of your opinions on some of these questions that you do so, and timestamp it so we know what you were referring to in the case. But the next time around for, what's the next month? April. I'm not too sure exactly when we're going to do that because this is all WrestleMania season and stuff, but we'll get around to it when we get around to it. If you didn't get a chance to send us a question this time around, start thinking about some things you want to send in for that one because that'll happen towards the end of April or something like that. And yeah, so the next time around that you're going to be hearing from us is going to be the hot tags, and then there's going to be the Wrestling with the Past retrospective of the 2018 class of the Hall of Fame, and that's coming next week. So if you want to be aware of when that gets posted, subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment. And I'm going to pass this around to everybody else to throw out some plugs as well. Peyton, you're up first.
Peep out the latest going on for MPW, an interactive universe made with wrestlers, created by you and other viewers. Well, not necessarily you, but people like you. YouTube.com/MPW Network. Check out a new show, Punch and Pie, where myself and Mr. Steven Wago review old combat sports and wrestling. The last episode we did was Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm, available now at youtube.com/Punch and Pie. New episode should finally be getting together soon. And of course, follow me streaming on Mixer almost every night of the week, mixer.com/Payton's Place.
Callum?
Less stuff going on in my world, but you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.
Robert?
Follow me everywhere at Dude Felice, and go to timekillerapparel.com, and that's pretty much it.
Alrighty, everybody. Last thing I want to mention is fanboysanonymous.com for all the movie review type related stuff on that and anything else that's happening there. And just pop on over there and check that out. And yeah, Tony Mango on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. And plenty of other articles coming your way for Smark Out Moment and other kind of platforms. I actually just posted my first thing on WrestleZone in many, many years earlier today of different opponents that I would like to see Daniel Bryan fight. So kind of the same sort of thing that we were just talking about a minute ago. But that's up if you want to go peep that out. And anything else, go ahead and do that. Drop your comments in all the different comments places all over the place. And I will talk to you when I talk to you. And we will see you when we see you. That's how it works. Thanks for listening to this, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment. We're being counted out.